Hello, and
Hello.
welcome to the Mind's Eye Media podcast.
Welcome.
Welcome. Now, quite low budget, so I want you to imagine for a minute that this is higher budget. This is when we get money,
Yes.
okay? When we get the dollar. I'm here, you're there. I go, welcome to the Mind's Eye Media podcast, and the camera goes. Now the camera is actually attached to like quite a large rocket
Yeah.
that shoots up through the roof. You can see all the sort of neighbours in the surrounding area covering their children. What's going on, mummy? It's okay. I don't know. Launches up, has a large projector attached, just beams across Earth an image of Mind's Eye Media and just and a hologram of mine and yours face just going, remember us. That will be the intro.
You've never told me that before, but
No,
that's
so
your
this
vision
is
for
so
this.
this is the secret GoFundMe.
Yes, that's what we want. So if anyone does want to sponsor the podcast, that's what you could end up doing.
Please.
Project the image onto the moon.
No, onto Earth.
Oh, onto
Back
Earth.
onto it. So all you can see day and night is the purple image of my hand.
Yes.
And yeah, and maybe the audio can be shut off from like midnight till 4.
Okay. During like the off-peak hours.
That's off peak.
Yeah.
And then just bang on 4 a.m. Remember us. Yeah.
That's like, I can't think what film that's like, where they play like a...
Futurama did it with Bender when he goes back. He finds an Egyptian planet, right, where they're still in Egyptian times, and he becomes like their god. And he builds a monument to himself, and it is hundreds and hundreds of meters high, and every few seconds it just goes and blows flames out of his mouth and goes, remember me.
Oh, there you go.
And then he says, do you think it's a bit too much?
I don't think that's too much for this.
I don't think it is. I think it's relevant to the content.
Well, yeah, especially given this is Halloween episode.
Yes.
Well, we have been around for a while.
Yeah.
We've been creating podcasts for a few months.
Yeah, we're bouncing around on Spotify and Apple, and other platforms are available.
They are, yeah, mainly Spotify though.
Mainly Spotify.
And then we decided to make the leap onto YouTube. And I found out today watching another YouTuber. I don't know why I'm being all secretive. It was a guy called Spraggy, who's a local player from local, actually, not far away.
Yes,
UK based.
UK, but yeah.
He mentioned on his stream that there are, I think, 140 million YouTube accounts.
Okay.
So we thought, why not make one more?
Why not? Why not make one more?
Yeah.
With just straight white men.
Yeah.
Because that I mean, there's not many of those.
That's what the world needs, is our opinion.
Exactly.
On stuff.
I really are, right?
Because there's not enough voices. Yeah, obviously.
Of those being heard. Well, see, I'm not actually right wing. That was a joke.
Yeah, we do hope people get the sarcasm, and because we're in trying times when it comes to that sort of stuff.
Oh god, yeah.
So yeah, Halloween episode. So we've done a few episodes. So go back and have a look for us on the podcast apps, Mind's Eye Media. So we just discuss films, TV,
series,
stuff,
yeah, or anything.
And I suppose the backdrop to what we do is that you are the film guy.
Yeah, I suppose. In comparison to you, yes.
That's not hard.
Yeah.
Before this,
I've watched a film.
I haven't watched many.
So I'm the film guy.
This is new to me. I've got like a crop of films that I watch.
Okay.
And I've seen and I watch over and over. When I've told people that I'm doing a podcast around films, they're like, you.
Really?
Like, what do you know?
Yeah, but this is the good dynamic, you see.
Yeah.
This is where it works, because all of those ones that I've watched over the years where I felt like I've wasted hours and hours of my life, now I can finally pass this information on to someone. So
exactly.
So and to all the viewers out there.
Exactly. And I suppose I bring my own little bits. So I'm a psychologist by trade.
Exactly.
So we this came out of us talking about films that have kind of a psychological impact, or like, Mind's Eye, and that's why we came up with the name of the podcast. From, right? So so we thought I mean, I dread to think how many podcasts are talking about Halloween this week.
Everything.
I mean, everything.
Yeah, it's like, even book podcasts. One I listen to that reviews books is Halloween based for the whole of October.
ASMR channels are doing it.
Yeah,
it's all about, you
just have screams.
You go to the doctor. Yeah, imagine.
Imagine
right in the middle of a really relaxing.
Just sleeping to that. A bit worrying.
Well, you'd be like, you go to the doctors and things, but then in some that I've seen, it's like you're actually a werewolf or you're actually a
See,
witch.
these things blow my mind. These
Yeah.
ASMR things, because I've never really delved into it. I've never gone into that little sort of rabbit hole and fallen down it.
Yeah.
I
Once
just
you're in,
occasionally see them. Hey,
once you're in,
when I
you
see
can't
it,
get out.
yeah, yeah. No matter how much you claw your way out,
Yeah.
but they do intrigue me. I see a lot of them on TikTok, and it's a lot of them scratching a microphone normally,
Yeah.
and I'm like, ugh. I
Yeah.
quickly scroll away.
Yeah. I mean, we could do a whole episode
We
on
should. We
ASMR.
should.
Well, not with our voices, but
No.
definitely not. My accent's awful.
Dry.
Oh no, I don't think that'd go far.
It just sounds like you're being held prisoner.
But what we can do is talk about films. So obviously,
Mm.
I'm trying to do the David Brent but with a microphone in my hand doesn't work.
Or
But
Trump now, the weave.
oh yeah,
Did you hear this? When I do the weave. Did you hear when he said
I
this?
did hear that. That was on
Amazing and
Schultz.
terrifying.
Was that on Schultz's? Was that when he went on that
Oh
one?
no, he said that a few times now. He
Oh
said
okay,
that publicly a few times that he does the weave. I do the weave.
yeah.
Yeah. But I like it. Yeah. Do you?
So we've doing this, and obviously, of course, we're going to talk about horror films now.
Indeed.
Again, given that I hadn't watched many films, those that I hadn't watched, even less
Horror.
Yes.
Yes.
Because as I've said to you many times, I don't really see the point.
Yeah.
I mean, like to those listening, this isn't going to be a podcast of me saying that horror films are pointless because
No.
I've been converted. I think.
Yeah, I think you've had a good selection of different types
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
To a point where I chose to watch a horror film this week, which wasn't for this
You're a
podcast.
changed man.
Yeah, because the second Speak No Evil has come out.
Yes.
James McAvoy.
The Hollywood remake.
That's it.
Is it Hollywood? I don't know.
I don't know, but it's good.
Yeah.
And he's great.
Yeah, he's amazing.
So I thought,
Blair.
well, again, bring them together. So yeah, I chose, but we decided for the purpose of this podcast, we would talk a little bit about Halloween,
Yes.
talk about some of our own experiences of the spooky.
Spooky paranormal.
Yeah, I mean, we came up with a really creative name, didn't we? Spooktober. How did we come up with that?
It's just crazy. Well, see what I did.
Yeah, talk me through it.
What we really did, what both of us did, we sat down and we wrote down the word October.
Well, that's when Halloween is, right?
Yeah.
Every year.
Yeah, only at the end of it though.
Right at the end.
Yeah, you wouldn't know that thinking listening to all those bloody podcasts that do it for the whole month. But still,
Yeah.
Besides the point. We wrote down October, and then we thought, what's in October? Oh, Halloween. And then we were like, what's Halloween? Oh, it's spooky.
It certainly is.
So then we first came up with Octobery, and then we were like, no, that's rubbish. So then we went Spooktober.
And that was it.
And that was it. And it was we were just like, oh my god. It was one of those moments where you nearly have a heart attack because it's that good.
It was genius.
Yeah.
I'd say.
And here we are now.
It could have been a whole series, but it is one episode.
Yeah, it's just one episode. Anyway.
It's one episode to represent a whole month.
You don't want to overcook it.
No, you don't.
You don't want steak every day.
No, that's very true. And if people think this is steak, who knows?
Well, yes, it might be a little more like pork lunch meat.
Yeah, something like that.
Those circles you get that are really, really stuck together too much in the packaging for my liking.
With the egg in the middle.
Oh, that's the worst.
Yeah,
Gala egg thing. What is that? What they call it?
Something like that.
Why do they call it gala?
I don't know.
That makes it sound like something good.
Yeah, a gala's meant to be fun.
Yeah, like an event.
Do they have that in America? I don't know.
They do have the gala events, yeah.
No.
The
pork
the egg.
with the egg in.
I don't know. Tell us.
Yeah, tell
Please,
us.
write in.
So yeah, we decided we'd talk about 3 films. So we know we could never win really with horror fans.
No.
We could never talk about all the films that people find interesting. So we went for some key films, and more so for you to give me a bit of an education in horror.
Yeah, it was nice to sort of get a bit of a selection there and think, okay, that gives you a look at that, that gives you a look at that, and that gives you a look at that. We picked 3, right? There were 3 main ones.
So from the first one that came out was The Exorcist. Is that right?
Yes.
And then The Thing.
Yes.
And then The Blair Witch Project.
And then Blair Witch.
Which is a good introduction.
Now I watched them in the order of Blair Witch.
Yeah.
The Thing.
Yeah.
Exorcist.
I did.
Yes.
Watched them backwards.
Oh, what? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the best way to. Yeah, I think for you as a sort of non-horror fan,
Yeah.
that Blair Witch sort of eased you in.
Yeah.
It just more creepy sort of feelings, and then the things like, okay,
Yeah.
this happens, and then Exorcist is true, sort of deep down to the core
Yeah.
terror.
So, yeah.
I'm interested to hear your views
Well,
on it.
yeah, because I mean, we'll come to it, but I think I probably found them. I found them less scary than I thought I would, and this is the reason why I was so anti-horror before, was because
Yeah.
I thought that horror films were all about making you jump.
You see, I mean, there are those,
Yeah, of course.
and there are some really great ones. And there's ones that I really struggle to watch
Mm.
because I really, yeah, they really get me.
Yeah,
Like sometimes, and things like, well, even back in the day, the first Paranormal Activity
I've seen that.
stayed with me
Mm.
very, very long time. That bed scene when
Yes.
they're in bed, and you know what it is that did it, and I think it's, for want of a better word, it's like the realness of the filming of it. It's like a documentary.
Yeah.
It's like you're stood in the corner of the room watching something that you feel like you shouldn't be looking at, and that's what freaks me out the most.
Yeah, yeah.
I hate it.
That when I first saw that, because it could just be your house.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a lot bigger than my house.
yeah, it was a lot bigger than my house.
It's in America, and they're
Yeah,
massive houses. But yeah, it could be. Whereas, unless I go out in the middle of the woods with a camera,
yeah, I tend not to do
find,
that.
then I'm not going to end up in the Blair
No,
Witch.
and if I do go out into the woods, I certainly don't take a camera because you don't want to leave evidence. No,
Not the stuff you get up to.
no, God no.
So yeah, I watched them in that order, and I think I've been converted. I
Yeah.
think to the idea that true horror is what goes on up here.
Yes.
Obviously, this is why we started this whole podcast again, to come back to it. Like, is about what goes on up
Yeah,
here
it's
when you watch things.
exactly how it plays on your mind, right? And the
Yeah,
effect it has on your mind. Like, what you don't know terrifies you more,
yeah,
I
or
think.
what you know, or what your mind projects,
Mm-hmm.
is scarier than anything that you could actually see.
Oh, 100%. Anyone, anything else can tell you will never scare you more than what your own brain is gonna play tricks on you with.
Now, speaking of that,
Mm.
let's talk about the films first, and then let's talk about our own experiences of some of this stuff. Because I
Okay.
think I'm quite like a non-believer in
Okay.
the paranormal.
Yeah.
So then it begs the question, why would I be scared to watch a film about those things?
Indeed.
So then you start to question, well, actually, maybe there is something in it. And
Mm-hmm.
I have got, well, a couple of stories that aren't mine,
Mm.
but one of my closest friends
Okay.
told me about the house he grew up in, which I won't tell people where it is and what it looks like, because if you said the name of the house, you could Google it. It's on
Okay.
Google. But it was fucking scary
Yeah.
being there
Yeah.
as a kid, sleeping over.
Yeah.
And I think my mate lent into the whole, this house is scary, so I'm going to
Okay.
tell my friends scary stuff while they're here.
Of course, as you do
So
when you're a
that, but
kid.
I didn't realize the amount of actual scary stuff that happened to him
Yeah.
and his family when he
When they
when
were
he
there.
was there.
Yeah.
So I will talk about that in a bit.
Yeah, I've got a couple from an old friend's house. I would have been about 14, 15. Yeah, we were about 14, 15. And yeah, there was a few incidents in that house where it got to the point where I refused to go into the house. He was like my best mate. Like we
Mm,
saw each other every day without fail.
yeah.
And I just couldn't go into the house. In the end, it got to that point, and it really, yeah, it got to me. Um, and my mum, actually, to this day, still tells me this particular story about stuff that used to happen in a town just outside of where we are, where she lived as a kid. Some of the stories they're pretty funky. Yeah,
Okay.
it's
Well, let's
interesting stuff. But
let's
we'll get
save
to those.
space for those,
Yeah,
because I think it's important, because it heightens everything this time of year.
yeah.
Not because you see people with spider webs. However, last night, when you feel a little genuinely, honestly.
Go
So
on.
first of all, we tried to record this episode a few days ago with a lot of tech issues. So I
Yes.
told my mate who told me all the stories that I couldn't tell his stories because we
Right.
had tech
Okay.
issues, and he said, "Well, what do you think that is?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh shit,
I mean,
okay,
there's have you heard all the stories about the Exorcist set, the filming?
yeah,
Oh God. Yeah.
yeah,
Some of that stuff's weird.
very
Yeah. Yeah.
strange."
Strange.
And also last night in bed, you know, when you feel like a little tickle and you think, oh, that's nothing. It was actually a spider crawling across my arm in bed. And it was too big to not be scared by. And I had to
horrendous.
Down a pint of water, use the glass.
Just to cup it.
I am terrified of spiders.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
I think once they get to a certain size, then I'm like,
I'm like, I'd sooner move out. You can have the keys, mate.
Yeah,
out of the house. And just have a spider living in there.
The ground.
Honestly. But last night I just thought I gotta do it.
Get it. I had an incident actually, just going completely off topic here, but I had an incident with a spider, and I didn't realise it was a spider right at first. But I felt something on my ear in the night, and I was asleep. It sort of woke me up, so I just sort of whacked my ear like that. Thought nothing of it. Went back to sleep. Woke up. Don't know, whenever, an hour later, still the middle of the night. Had a wee because I'm old now, so I get up and go wee.
A couple of times.
Yeah, 8 times. Came back upstairs, got back into bed, and then as I was dozing off again, felt something on my leg that time. As every time I was like, oh, no. I go back to sleep. Next day, fine. My other half says, oh God, I pulled the plug out from under the bedside table this morning to plug in hair straighteners. And she said the biggest spider crawled out from under there. And I was just like, no. And it was awful. I just had these images of this spider trying to burrow inside my ear.
Couldn't deal with that.
Yeah, it was horrible.
But anyway. Yeah, scary stuff.
Spooky spiders.
So the films, should we talk about them as a collective and then individually? So I think across the three, I would say the one that I enjoyed watching the most, because I watched them all for the first time.
Yeah,
I'd never seen any of them before. Right? And obviously Blair Witch is known across the world over, and we'll talk about the impact of that film. But I would say the one I enjoyed watching the most was The Exorcist.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that.
100% out of those three.
It's a great film.
And I'd say the one I found scariest was Blair Witch.
Okay. And when I first watched Blair Witch, years and years, when it first came out, I went to the cinema to watch it.
99.
Yeah, with my mate. So what? 99. So I was 17. Went to the cinema, and it creeped me out.
I can imagine the cinema as well.
And it was the first instance of those documentary style handheld horror genre. That was a trailblazer. So it stuck with me in so many ways. Terrified me for a long, long time.
100%, because it's all the stuff you can't see.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think there's nothing more scarier than being in the woods and seeing something scary, right? Than being in the woods and just hearing something scary and not being able to see where it is. That's scarier.
And knowing it's there.
Yeah, and they got that
stuff outside your tent and oh my God.
All that stuff. Yeah, the noises and the rock formations that they find stuff like that's great.
I suppose The Thing sits somewhere in the middle as being like what I've now learned to be like a classic horror film.
Yes.
That has got a massive cult following and people big it up hugely. And I think if you take it like sitting here in 2024 watching it, obviously without CGI, if they remade it now and they use CGI, it would probably be a bit more jumpy. But it wasn't meant to be jumpy. It was the idea that there was this thing.
They have remade it as well. They did.
Oh, they did.
It. Yeah, I haven't seen it. I haven't heard great things.
No.
I mean, it wasn't great. Yeah. But it's that the thing is, for me, the thing sort of epitomizes that 80s body shock, body horror.
Yeah.
Those sort of transformation style.
Yeah.
Yeah. That like Cronenberg style films, a lot of his, like Fly, that was obviously huge. Yeah, Videodrome. That's a whole other. So we'll do that one day.
Yeah.
But yeah, stuff like that. That was really that. It's that creepiness to me. That sort of body transformation, or something like a parasite. That really creeps me out. Like a parasite being inside your body, like something living inside your body, feeding off you, and maybe sort of controlling some of your actions, and you not even realizing that it's controlling your actions. Those things freak me out. So that's that kind of horror for me.
Yeah, definitely.
And then The Exorcist.
I mean, that was more shocking, I think. And I imagine at the time, we're not shocked by as much these days.
No, decent stuff.
But some of the scenes of what the the devil is doing to the child.
Oh god, it's
shocking.
I mean, and she's like Linda Blair was like I think she was 13, 14 years old when she made that film.
Which
And she sat through hours of makeup, mate, when she sat on
yeah,
that bed
yeah,
with all that gear on.
yeah.
And it was that toxic. I don't know if you read any of this. It was that toxic. She was left with burns on
Oh
her
my,
face and stuff for a long, long time. She went through hell
yeah.
during that film.
That was the point.
Literally, yeah. They actually, just to touch on it briefly while we're on it, the scenes when the priests come in to actually perform the Exorcist
Yeah.
on her, and you can see their breath.
Mm.
Now, he was William Friedkin, the director, who is like a genius of film, but also a maniac at the same time. They usually go hand in hand
Yeah.
in that industry a lot of the time. But he wanted that cold breath constantly there. He didn't want to use CGI, at the time as well. It would have just looked ridiculous. So they actually built a cold store room, around this whole block, and then built the set within the cold store room,
Oh wow.
and then would get it up to like a stupidly cold temperature. Everyone's there on set, gloves and everything, waiting for it to get to that temperature. Action, lights come on. Well, they have to wait for the lights to heat up. So you put your lights on, they wait for those to heat up. Action, you get about half an hours filming. It gets too hot again because of the lights. So you have to turn the lights down, power down. Everyone has to go off, let it get cold again, come back in. It was madness. But like the genius of that comes across in the film.
Yeah, you need it.
Yeah, but it was crazy. Like crazy set.
Yeah.
And a lot of crazy stuff went on there as well.
Yeah. It was, yeah, I think that one was the one that kept me encapsulated the most. I don't know, The Thing did as well, actually.
Yeah, I mean, they all have their own sort of grip on you.
Yeah.
I think in their own particular way.
It creates like a different sense of what can happen to people.
Mm-hmm.
Like the decline
Paranoia.
the paranoia in The Thing.
Like the
And
cabin fever style.
yeah, and in
Blair Witch. Yeah,
as
it's
well.
a similar thing to that. Slow sort of decline in your situation, which immediately leaves you to question the trust of the people that you're with.
100%.
That's always an interesting subject to watch.
Definitely.
Well,
let's work backwards then in the order we watched them. So
Yeah.
Blair Witch. So obviously, Blair Witch as a film is famous for being the highest grossing to lowest budget film ever made.
Yes, it was incredible.
So like $60,000 was
something
used.
like that. Yeah, and it's something like it's upwards of $250 million worldwide.
Yeah,
or 300. I think something like that it raked in.
And still now we'll still be making a massive amount of money on streaming sites and
every Halloween.
Of course.
I mean, I saw it was on BBC the other day.
Yeah.
There are other TV channels.
So yes, and there's a lot around it as well. So obviously, the three main characters, they just named the characters after themselves because they didn't even bother to like create new characters. It was like basically played themselves. Yeah. And when it went out for the first time and it premiered wherever it did, they put up missing posters, didn't they?
It was that was very clever.
Of each of them, because it was obviously a year later that it says at the start of the film the footage was found a year on.
Yes, that was
so of course the people watching the film thought it was an actual documentary. A lot of people were like, this is wrong, you shouldn't have these posters up, like, you shouldn't be celebrating the fact that they're
great
missing.
Great PR.
Incredible.
Yeah, marketing genius to sort of create that hysteria around it. It's good. If you do it in the correct way, I mean, don't get too far, but it was very, very hyped up. I remember at the time, it's all people were talking about.
Well, it's so different.
Yeah, it was. It was the first one.
Yeah.
It was the first one. And like a lot of films, 10, 15 years following on from that, have the Blair Witch to thank for them even existing, because they wouldn't exist otherwise, just without those people doing that film. It's incredible, really, what they achieved.
I think we've talked about doing this, like on TV you get like comedy connections, and it was like with The Office, and it'd be like, right, and Gervais was also on this, and Merchant. I think we should do episodes where we take a film and then we do the like the domino effect.
The influences on culture. That'd be a good one.
I think we should do that. So keep your eyes out for that.
That's live brainstorming.
There you go.
Episode
of that.
Don't get that on other channels. Don't see KSI doing that.
There's 140 million channels. No one's ever done that before. No one ever thought of an idea live.
Live.
So the film itself obviously starts with. Now, I went into this because it's the first horror film I watched.
Sort of properly.
I do remember watching Paranormal Activity. Weirdly, I think I might have watched it at the mate's house who.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
Not
I think that
ideal
became
place
a
to
bit
do
of a
it.
thing where it was like, oh, let's download a film on LimeWire. Other illegal streaming things were available.
They were available, yeah, not anymore.
And it was like, right, well, let's just, that's what you do when you're like lads at that age. You're like, well, we're in a scary house. Let's just see who's got the most metal and let's like take the piss
take
out.
all your clothes off. And oh no, what? Sorry, God, sorry, no, different
different sleepovers.
Yeah, different sleepover.
So yeah, but I remember but this was, I was going into this thinking, right, okay, I know this is meant to scare me.
Yes.
This is meant to make me jump. This is meant to be to unnerve me.
You're immediately going with that tension, right? You're immediately on the back foot, yeah.
And some people watching this and all across the world, especially this week, will love that buzz.
Yeah.
But I've never been one for like roller coasters or anything that's meant to scare. I have done it.
Yeah. But you're not going to go and seek it out specifically.
I'll need to go to Alton Towers or Drayton Manor or wherever.
Yeah.
Because I used to have to go on like school trips and I was always like, oh, I'm going to look like such a fucking like,
you don't want to do it.
Like a loser because like they'll want me to go on Apocalypse and I don't want to go on it because I'm scared of heights. And so I've never been one to seek out like fear as something that I'm going to get a buzz out of.
Yeah, I get that.
So going into watching Blair Witch, I was like, well, I'm not going to enjoy this. So, and I was watching it a lot on my phone.
Right. Okay.
Headphones in.
Optimum way to watch a film these days.
Well, you know, it was one of them. It was the most accessible way I could watch it.
If it's smaller, it's not as terrifying, right?
Partly,
it's true.
And I will tell you this, and I probably shouldn't say this, but I will.
Okay, go on.
I use my lunch break at work to finish watching it.
Okay.
Right? Nice. So I'm in an office.
Yeah.
So I work for the National Health Service here in the UK. And I get a break.
Yeah,
it wasn't on work time, right?
Yeah,
but I thought, right, okay, I'm gonna where I'd normally just put my headphones in, watch some YouTube, whatever. I thought I'm gonna finish the film. I'm in an office on my own with noise cancelling headphones in, and obviously we're not here to go scene by scene. So in the final scene where they get into the house, I had asked somebody in reception to do something to get some paperwork, or I can't remember what it was.
Just firing off jobs.
No, I don't. But I'd asked someone to let me know something, and they must have not been able to ring the phone in the office.
Oh God!
So I had the headphones in, but I didn't hear them knock the door. So I'm sat watching it, and she comes up here and taps me on the. I shit myself, like absolutely shit myself, because it's the most tense part of the film.
It is literally the most.
So even though it was in the day, and yeah, I'll admit, I probably watched it more in the day than at night because I thought I don't want to have nightmares.
No, yeah, you don't. You want to be able to sleep that night.
Yeah, but I didn't know what it was going to be like.
Oh, exactly.
So, and I'd got that far, but then obviously the tension builds.
Yeah.
And that was the point at which they tapped me on the arm. So that didn't help. But it did.
Did you have to take some time off work for injuries?
No.
Just played around it.
I just proper jumped.
Horrendous.
Like really did jump. But as a film, I think, yeah, you go into it with this sense of like you know, so you would have known back in '99 when you were 17 going to cinema. I was too young then. I was only 9. So yeah, I need to mention that. So I wouldn't have been able to watch it then. But then my mates, I did say to one of my mates, actually, one of my mates, my mate Felix, I said, "Have you ever watched Blair Witch?" He was like, "Yeah," when I was like 9, and I was like, "Oh God, I've still been avoiding it now when I'm 34."
I think he might be quite troubled if he's watched it when he was 9.
I'll have to ask him. We'll have to ask his opinion.
Still has night terrors.
But he said that almost like, well, yeah, of course I've seen it. Like, yeah,
it's one of those.
So you go into it with this sense of like, okay, I know what I'm about to watch has scared lots of people, so it's going to scare me.
Yeah,
and you go in with attention, and I was almost counting down the minutes into it that I wasn't scared.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, and you think
in the early parts,
when's it coming? Yeah,
when they're interviewing people and stuff like that.
I quite enjoy that. I quite enjoy the way they cut that together, the editing style of it. Some of it's black and white, I think, if I remember rightly. Some of it's color.
Yeah.
Very, very genuine seeming interviews. I don't know if they actually were just interviewing. I think they were just interviewing real residents of the area.
It's like it, yeah.
But it was I really enjoyed that part of it.
It made it feel very real.
Yeah, you needed that. You couldn't just go straight in with, we're going on a camping trip.
No, and the people in the area, the way in which, whether those interviews were set up or not,
Mm-hmm.
that they seem so genuine that you really could believe that this is a documentary.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know where it was filmed. Where was it?
Somewhere in mid-America somewhere.
Yeah, I class that as like that to me, and I'm probably completely wrong. And anyone who's literally listening or watching this as American, please correct me. But I see that as like your typical Midwest
Yeah, I think so.
American town. Always looks autumnal.
Yeah.
A bit damp.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and you're seeing people in their natural, some people fishing, some people in the shop, some people in a
and it's
diner.
there's no like massive chain stores everywhere. It's more independent little stores. That
Yeah.
sort of little America, I suppose you would call
Small townships
it.
almost.
They get that. They capture that really well.
Yeah.
In that.
And it makes it feel very, very real. So you go into it believing it. Now, obviously, we're not going to go through it scene by scene. As the film progresses, the key element of this that causes fear is the heightening of the senses, I think. Now, I do a lot of work with trauma in my job, right?
Yeah.
And the senses are a huge portal for like triggers for trauma.
Yeah.
So the less you see, when there's parts of the film where it's just completely pitch black.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where the
Yeah. All
cameras
you
are
can hear is
being,
just audio.
and that really heightens the sensory experience
Yeah.
of your eyes are searching for something but it can't find it.
Well, and also you don't really want to find it because you're waiting for something to suddenly be visually there.
And that's what I think does it. It builds and then nothing happens. Then it would just cut to like the following morning.
Yeah, and
and it's
getting out,
daylight
they're
and you're
getting
like, oh,
ready.
thank fuck,
Yeah,
okay.
it's that tension. I like
Because
that.
you're feeling relief for them.
Yeah.
Or you forget that you're watching a clip that's been found a year later and they haven't been found.
Yes, you do
Because
forget that.
you're rooting for them.
Well, you just think it's current.
Yeah.
By the time I was into it, I just thought, okay, I'm watching this as it happens now. And I
Yeah.
forgot the year later thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then if you keep connecting back to that, you're like, right, okay, so something bad does happen.
Yeah.
And it constantly builds you up.
And
then nothing happens.
Yeah.
And then that tension just keeps growing.
Oh yeah, it's constant, right up to they build it very nicely. A little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. Something a little bit crazier, some noises, some screaming. Suddenly, someone disappears, from the group, and it gets heightened until we get to that end point.
Yeah,
and with the budget constraints that they had, it's a genius way to do it. It's one of the only ways to achieve that is through the way that they did it, through not seeing things, through hearing things in the distance, through suggestions of things.
Yeah.
It's perfect in that respect.
Because if half an hour in you saw the witch, then that would be it.
That's it. Yeah,
the horror's over.
Yeah,
You've seen what it is that you're wondering is out there. And it's the little sort of, what do you call it, little Easter eggs along the way, like, okay, there's something outside the tent and they're all questioning each other. And what I particularly liked about it from a psychological perspective, again, was how it impacted each individual and how they turned on each other and how they started hiding stuff from each other and started to become, they're almost going on like a grieving journey for themselves.
Yes.
So there's like denial, and then there's like the fear, and then there's like all those sort of stages of grief. But like, it's not that obvious. It's more about the way in which they interact with each other and the way that they start to fall out, and one goes before the others.
Yeah.
And then of course that has a domino effect, because sometimes then someone has to step up and try and be the one to be
take charge.
Yeah. And like try and reassure, and it'll be okay.
Yeah, but that happens less and less as they go through.
Absolutely.
Because it just collapses.
Yeah.
And that I tell you what, just quickly touching it on the end scene, that stuck with me for years.
Oh god, yeah.
Every time I walked into a room, for a long time, if it's a dark room, and I turned the light on, I would not be able to look into. I'd have to just look at the switch and then turn around, because I just had images of some bloke stood in the corner.
Yeah.
And what a simple thing that is. Someone just stood facing the corner of the room, but what an abnormal thing it is to see when you enter a room. And that, it stayed with me for so long. It creeped me out for years.
Now, there is probably a scientific reason for that, in that the brain, like the reasoning part of the brain, keeps developing until we're about 25. So if you watch this at 17, your brain's like a sponge.
Yes.
It's picking up so much. So you start to make associations between what you've seen and what you're seeing, like the light switch, and what you've seen.
Yeah.
And obviously, at that age, you still might be a little bit wary of things, or everything's heightened. So, yeah, you're going to walk into a room and you're going to see it in your mind's eye before you. Oh, I didn't even mean to do that. I didn't even mean to do it. But yeah, so and I think it does. It gets heightened through, because that's the final bit that you get to see something. Because everything else is sound.
Yeah.
And it's the darkness into the light of the next day.
And a lot of running in dark.
Yeah. And that kind of, and little glimmers of things you can see, little bits of, trees or, whatever. But you never get to see the thing that you're trying to see.
You never get to see anything.
No.
Now, if you were to say quickly, I mean, we can go back and forth, but if you were to compare that to The Thing, the complete opposite.
Yeah.
Like, The Thing is literally vision of it in your face constantly.
Yeah.
Seeing the transformation, seeing the absolute parasitic body horror that is bursting out of these people.
Yeah.
Complete opposite to them. But
in the same way, we still don't get to see what it is.
No.
You just get to see the form it takes.
The form it takes, yeah. You never get to see its original form of what it was, right?
And even though you've seen it, because it constantly changes shape, that's what the genius is of it.
Consistently,
because you're going to see it again, but you don't know how.
Yeah.
And it keeps bettering itself in terms of the way in which
some of the transformations, man. That film is wild.
Yeah.
And it's all the thing that I really, really love about it is, I think there's maybe two, maximum maybe three scenes that actually use some sort of CGI or special effects, like the ship coming down and towards Earth at the beginning. Things like that, when they're stood at the crater, that's clearly special effects as well. There's not a crater that size out in the Arctic where they're filming. But apart from that, the body transformations are all animatronics, all real effects, and they creep me out more than anything.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It is crazy. It's wild.
Yeah.
And some of the like when we'll just touch upon certain parts of it, because I'm sure it's an old film. People should have seen this by now. But
I'd never heard of it before you mentioned it to me, by the way.
Have you not?
I'd never heard of it. No.
Well, this is why we're here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, John Carpenter's, in my opinion, John Carpenter's masterpiece, right? He's like the horror god over the 80s.
Yeah.
Halloween. He's in Halloween, the original Halloween. So, that was a big one. But I think The Thing is his masterpiece just for the effects alone. The music is just perfect.
Music,
synthesized, creepy music.
Yeah.
That is, if I ever hear that style of music, I'm like, oh, that's very John Carpenter-esque sort of tension style. And Kurt Russell is great.
Amazing.
Like, cheese at times,
oh
pure
my God,
cheese,
yeah,
but just great.
But I don't imagine it would have been cheesy then.
No.
But
that was
looking
standard.
back,
you look back at it now,
and it is,
There's some of the lines,
yeah.
Okay.
But it's so, like, we've made the bridge into it from Blair Witch, but it's so different to that.
Oh, it's
like, because there's no music in Blair Witch.
Nothing. No,
there's no other. You don't see. You just hear. Just before we finish on Blair Witch, what I wanted to say as well was one thing I heard that they did to increase the authenticity of the acting was to literally send them walking throughout the day in the heat.
Okay, tire them out.
And then they got them back to the same place.
Oh.
Like when they literally in the film were going back to where they'd been, they sent them in circles.
Okay.
And the actors didn't know that they were being sent in circles, and it was creating a genuine feeling
Tension.
of and anger. And they gave them less and less food as the days went on of filming to make it more authentic. So they put themselves through it's not quite method acting, but they put themselves through like a kind of it was
torture in a way. I mean, you're torturing your body and your mind in a way that gets you to a place where you think, okay, I can express that now. What I need to express in this scene.
Exactly. Yeah. If you need to be able to express genuine fear or frustration, being put in that situation is gonna help with that.
And if the director, thinks he isn't getting the performance from them just off the bat, then yeah, go for it. Make them walk around. He's paying them a lot. Well, he probably wasn't paying them any money, but at the time, hopefully they agreed to take some of the proceeds that the film made.
Well, they
will
didn't want
never
to
have to work again.
I don't know if many of them have been in much else.
No, I mean, hopefully they said, "Oh yeah, I'll just take a cut of the profits, thanks," because there's an option. But there's instances of that. There's a funny story actually of Dustin Hoffman, right? In Marathon Man. Yeah. Have you ever seen that film?
No.
Okay, there's a scene where he has to appear puffed out, exhausted. He's been running, right, for ages. So just before this started filming, I can't remember the director of Marathon Man, and that's awful, by the way, and I'm guilty of that. And you give me all the hate you want for that, but I'll get it after this. But to prepare, he ran around. Ran around the block. Like, he just ran outside the set or wherever they were on the location. And the director's like, "Where's Dustin? Like, we're ready to go." And then they're like, "He's running around." And he's like, "Why?" And he's like, "Because he's got to be tied out." And Dustin came off and he said, "What are you doing?" He said, "We're ready to shoot like 2 minutes ago. Everyone's here. Let's go."
Yeah.
He's like, "What the hell are you doing?" He's like, "I'm running around. I've got to be puffed out." And he was like, "Just try acting." It's like sometimes that's a good point.
Yeah.
But I can understand it when a director thinks, "I'm not getting it here.
Yeah.
Not getting it. Let's just make them walk around from it. Let's get them frustrated." I
Yeah.
think that's good. It's important. Funny enough, that happens quite a lot with William Friggin in the Exorcist. Some of the stuff he did on that set was wild.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'll tell you some of those stories.
Yeah, please do. Yeah,
they're interesting.
So Rat Blair Witch. I'm glad I've seen it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I'll make it a regular thing that I watch, but I've seen it now.
Yeah,
and I'm glad I've seen it, and it was an experience.
Yeah,
and it was made more of an experience by being made to jump at work while I was finishing watching it.
Yeah,
and
then having to change your pants.
Yeah,
in the
not
toilets.
Yeah. But yeah, The Thing.
There is a blockage in those toilets currently, by the way. That is probably Ryan's pants.
It was a while ago now.
Okay.
What NHS? So
no,
yeah, who knows?
True. Who knows?
So yeah, The Thing was next. Now again,
just to go back to Blair Witch, I don't think you saying it's not one I'm going to revisit, which is quite an interesting thing, because I think I've probably only watched it. I watched it when it immediately came out in the cinema, and then I watched it again with someone else who hadn't seen it when it came out, sort of on a home video. Jeez, right? That's how old I am. Rewind.
Yeah.
Fast forward. Little buttons.
I had that.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And then I don't think I've watched it since then. So for the podcast, for this, it was the last time I watched it again. So yeah, I get that. It's not. I don't think it is that kind of film.
No,
it's not going to be. I think you have to experience it once.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Having not and then having seen it, I'm glad I did.
But the Thing, on the other hand,
I would watch.
Stick on,
I would watch again.
I watch it every time it's on. If it's on telly and I've got nothing else to do, I'll leave it on in the back. Even if I'm just pottering around, I'll be like, and because you just walk in at these moments, you're like, oh God, wow, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, great.
So going into that, I had zero idea what it was going to be about.
You had nothing, did you?
Not a clue.
No knowledge.
Didn't know anything about the cast, story.
Which I think is the best way.
Oh yeah,
for that film.
Completely like blank canvas. Just going into it.
Yeah.
And it was a really good story.
It was, yeah. I enjoyed the story.
Yeah.
I think that's why I think it's one of John Carpenter's best. I think it's a solid story.
Yeah.
I mean, it's obviously the effects and things are over the top, but I don't think the story itself is over the top. It's very small location, very claustrophobic.
Yeah.
I love that whole sort of Arctic expedition. You're in this small little community. There's no way out. You're not going anywhere. This is where I sort of love the idea of those sort of films and those sort of locations.
It works really well because it's in a place where no one can just go, no, do you know what? Fuck this, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
Because they can't.
Exactly, yeah.
You're there.
That's it.
And you have no choice but to, and again, probably similarly to Blair Witch, they're in the middle of somewhere that they can't get out of, but that they made the choice to go there. These guys, they literally can't leave even if they were to try to.
Yeah, they're stuck.
And there's obviously a wider cast. There's more people who, so you get a lot more personalities. And I think the film does well actually to get across all of the different characters.
Yes.
But it's amazing the use of their responses to the Thing.
Yeah.
And their responses to authority.
Yes.
as in with the main character.
Yeah.
And how he takes charge, and how everyone sort of has their place, and their places shift.
They do shift quite, throughout. The dynamic changes.
Yeah.
As people sort of turn and
That's a really interesting.
become more paranoid.
Yeah.
And suspicious of their activities.
And the way it does that so well is it creates the idea that this thing is so good at what it does that anyone could be acting completely normally,
Yes.
but be
The
under its
thing.
control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you would never know.
You would never know. So that twist completely changes everything, because it's not just something bursting through a body.
No.
Now those bits,
When it's exposed, when
Yeah.
it's discovered,
yeah,
so to speak, that it's there, then it exposes itself and
yeah,
moves along.
but then it moves.
Yeah, God, it's horrendous. I
And like
just,
that, the one scene, obviously the scenes that really stand out are the ones where it does kind of take over people's bodies and come out on. Yeah, just, I mean, again, like watching it back now, I suppose it's sad, really, the fact that that stuff isn't as shocking, because you see real life horrendous stuff on the internet every day.
Yeah, that's true.
And like, but then at the time,
Oh, yeah.
when there wasn't the internet,
Yeah.
and there wasn't X, where you can watch videos of people dying every day,
It's just
and there
normal
wasn't,
viewing.
we weren't exposed to horrendous videos of death and destruction all the time, then that would have been really shocking.
But I tell you what, even now, watching it now, and I watched it with my other half. She's seen it before as well, a long time ago. I think she's only seen bits, but we were like, there were moments I was like, Jesus Christ!
Yeah.
Like the moments where, like someone, I can't remember which character it was, but it's during, I believe, during the blood test scene.
Yeah,
Right?
I was going to say about that scene.
Yeah, it's a classic scene.
Yeah.
And some guy's head literally opens up and has teeth in it all of a sudden and grabs another man's head, I
Yeah, yeah,
believe,
yeah.
and lifts him up and
Yeah.
his legs are flying.
Yeah.
And it is just one of the
I
craziest
know.
sequences you will ever see in a
It
horror
opens up
film.
like a flower,
That's it, yeah.
and it's like one of those flowers that like
Oh, just
engulfs people, or like
horrendous.
other insects
It
and
got a
stuff.
real, I've got real like problems with like parasites. I really hate them, and I hate the idea of it. So that film,
Yeah.
on a sort of horror level, gets to me
Yeah.
because I just hate the idea. Like one of the worst things for me is the dog.
Oh God, yeah.
Oh, and it's all shooting out,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and it's like, and that
Yeah.
noise
Yeah, yeah.
when it's. I mean, the sound effects. God, I hope they won an Oscar for the sound effects,
Yeah.
because horror films unfortunately tend to get overlooked all the time for
Yeah.
Oscars. It's a bit snobby about horror.
This film is highly regarded though in the film world, I think.
Yes, now I think it
Yeah.
actually bombed at
Really?
box office wise. I think at box office it was a bit of a flop.
Yeah.
But now it's got that cult following, the home video. Yeah, man, it was
Yeah.
one of the classics.
The blood scene, the blood testing scene is massive, because
Yeah.
this is where you really start to get the tension.
Yeah.
Because it's not a film that gives you that sense of tension like a Blair Witch, or because there are moments in it where things do kind of simmer down. It's more shocking the things you see, and the way in which it takes over the bodies and things like that.
Yeah.
But that scene is like, that's where you get to see the humanity side of it, where everyone is looking at each other as I said, well, it could be anybody.
Paranoia, yeah.
And the guy in charge, obviously, he is forcing other people to do these tests.
Yeah.
But then you question, well, could it be him?
Yeah. And then the blood's all gone, isn't it, from the bang?
Yeah.
And then it's all like, oh, well, you only had a key, and then so
But
the
the
suspicions are
guy with the
flying around.
key is one of the quietest, most unassuming characters
Yes.
up until that point.
Yeah.
But doesn't he end up shooting someone, or he ends up doing something quite severe? I think the guy that's quite low key, the
Yeah.
one who had the key.
Yes.
I think he ends up killing one of the people who the blood
Yeah, doesn't he? I
shows.
think he shoots them. Yeah, something
Yeah.
crazy.
So it changes people's
Oh
personalities,
yeah, the whole
even if
thing.
you're not being
It's that
taken.
cabin fever thing, man,
Yeah.
mixed in with the fact that there's the something other there with you as well.
Yeah.
Which Alien is a perfect example of that. You have to say, okay, well, we're gonna have to
I know.
sort that out.
I know.
But Alien is a perfect example of that. Isolated crew of people, and then you have this other
Yeah.
thing
Yeah.
there with you.
Yeah.
You don't know where it is, and you don't know where it's popping up from. That film,
Yeah.
that's That's, in my opinion, that's a horror film, so that's one of the best, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll get to that one day. But that is that idea, yeah, that whole cabin fever, paranoia. I love it. I love all that isolation.
It does add. It adds something. If it was happening in a city,
Well, there's
it
too
just
many
wouldn't
get outs,
be.
in there?
Yeah,
Yeah,
people would just leave.
yeah.
They'd just
You
run
just be like,
away.
well, I'll just get the taxi. Bye.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
not quite the same.
no, exactly. So yeah, I enjoyed
Just
that
call
one.
an Uber.
I did enjoy the film. I think the effects for the time were
Oh my
incredible,
god, it's
and
crazy.
I think just the what I kept thinking as well during it is, how do you come up with this stuff? Like, to write it
Yeah,
and to create, to have an image in your head of what you want to create, and then to make it real,
yeah. I
and
mean,
to use the
yeah.
prosthetics
Oh,
and
it's
the
incredible. It
amazing.
is a true achievement of the effects team
Yeah.
to listen to John Carpenter and to listen to the team behind the film of what they wanted, and then to actually execute it and have that on screen in the end is incredible. Like the spider one, man, with the guy's head still
Oh god, yeah,
attached.
I know.
Oh god, when the legs sprouting and it's crawling
Oh, I
off, and
know.
just things like that.
I know.
Just can you imagine making that as a little animatronic? It's
I know.
just such an achievement for its time as well, as you said.
Exactly.
Amazing,
Yeah.
amazing.
So it will. It was that one will stand the test of time, and I'm not surprised they remade it, because obviously as a story you can then use CGI to
Yeah,
make it something
exactly. I
else.
think it was 50s, the original one, 1950s or something, I think. And
Oh
sorry, yeah. So there's three versions. So you got the original 1950s one, then the John Carpenter one is effectively a remake of that, but a lot is different. But
yeah.
it's the thing, and then you've got another remake in the sort of 2010s or something, I think it
Oh,
was,
okay.
which is just not worth talking about. I don't believe.
No, because I think it just ruins the unique nature of what it did.
Yeah, I don't see why they needed to do it.
But they will.
Yeah, of course,
Of
because
course they will.
there's some money probably
Yeah.
involved somewhere.
And
But
people will watch it because of the original, and they can just think, well, we can just recreate those scenes. But that's what makes it so special, I think,
yeah,
is the fact that it was done without CGI.
hmm
You,
it's
making it with
practical
CGI
effects.
is just, it's, I
It's just not the
say
same.
it's easy, but I don't know. People who
Well,
do
yeah,
CGI, it's easy.
yeah. I
And it's
mean,
not, it's just not the same.
no, it's not. I think having it play out in front on the camera and the camera capturing that exact moment in front of it is very, very different. It gives a different feeling to the film.
Yeah. And
The
with
Videodrome, David Cronenberg's Videodrome, perfect example of that. The Fly, perfect example of that.
those scenes where they're using those things they've made,
Mm-hmm.
they had to get it right.
Yeah, man. And you can like when you watch it, you can appreciate the effort
Oh, yeah,
that has gone
massively.
into making that. It's a
Hugely.
craft. It's
Yeah.
proper art.
It
But yeah,
really is, because if you get that scene wrong, you get your words mixed up, or then you got to start again.
the whole
They got to
thing again.
rebuild it.
Yeah,
They
you
got
got
to
to
make.
reset that whole animatronics. Hard work, man.
Yeah.
Hard work. That's why things like Wallace and Gromit, Nick
Mm,
Park. th- I will never ever stop being amazed
yeah.
at watching those, because the time that stop motion filming takes to
Yeah.
move those things, it's years.
I know.
It takes years to make a 40-minute
Yeah.
piece, and you watch them and they are a joy to watch, and I do find them hilarious.
Yeah.
And there's another one coming out soon for Christmas.
Is there?
Yeah, the Return of the Penguin. Penguin's come back. Remember the Penguin? What's his name? Feathers McGraw? Something like that.
But yeah,
I probably
to
know too much about those films, but I'm telling you,
create things out of
art.
like essentially plasticine.
Yeah, that to me is the ultimate art.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, that's a dedication to your craft. That is.
Yes.
We just got to sit in front of a microphone and talk.
Yeah, exactly. What am I
Hard.
doing?
Yeah.
God, useless.
And then The
And then we came to The
Exorcist.
Exorcist,
Yeah.
yes, which was a game changer.
I mean, so I think I said to you the other day, I've got some questions,
Yes, you did actually.
because the film starts in Iraq,
Yes.
and that really surprised me.
Mm-hmm.
I think I expected it to be, you see this girl, she starts going downhill. Yeah, I knew the premise of The
Yeah, yeah,
Exorcist,
yeah.
right?
Mhm.
But you see this girl, she starts going downhill, she starts acting strangely, and then they get the priest in, and that's
Yeah,
the film.
yeah.
But it's not.
No.
The priest is in Iraq. He's
Yeah.
obviously doing sort of missionary
Doing
work,
mystery ways, doing archaeology work.
and he finds I was going to say it's a St. Christopher, but I don't think it is. He finds the religious necklace,
Yes.
um, and
But
then
then,
decides he's going back to America.
but there's that scene, there's that famous scene, isn't there, where he's stood opposite that statue of
Yeah,
something. Now, that statue is some form of a representation of the devil.
Yeah.
Isn't it? In some religions or some, I don't know which one.
Yeah,
Got
yeah.
of that. So that scene, I think, is supposed to represent. It's like a foreshadowing scene of the battle that he is about to have when he returns home.
Okay.
And he is standing face to face with the devil.
Literally.
At that point, literally at that
Yeah.
point. And he will again.
Okay.
And he'll meet her and them again.
Yeah, because I think when it cut back to America, I was expecting it to say 5 years earlier, and that he'd gone out there after he'd done the exorcism,
Right. Yes. Yeah.
and he decided he was going to try and get away from it,
Right. Okay.
but then he finds the necklace there, and he's back faced with the devil again, like he can't shake the devil.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, but anyway, it is in time
in my
order.
opinion, that's what I always thought it was.
Yeah. So then you sort of just see the normal day to day of the family, the girl,
Reagan.
and obviously I was interested in the fact that obviously they're exploring all the kind of other reasons why it could be. You know, they don't jump straight to no, she's possessed by the devil.
No, obviously there's no father involved, is there, in her
No,
life? So there's that sort
there's
of.
mum, her, and then is it an older sister? There's someone always in the house, like another female character who's like a late teens, early 20s, maybe.
She's not a sister. I can't remember. Is it the sister of the mum? I don't know.
Yeah,
I
it might
can't
be.
remember what it was now. That's awful, but I can't remember. But I know there's a maid, who helps a
Yeah.
lot. And there's the German sort of helper of the house as
Yeah,
well.
the guy. Yeah, oh, of course. Yeah, because the film director guy gets into it with him about being a Nazi, doesn't he?
Yeah, that goes
Yeah. So there is a lot more to the story than I thought there was going to be. There's obviously the whole side story with the Italian American priest, who just, especially with the running scenes, just reminded me so much of Rocky.
Yes.
Like, 'cause he looks quite a bit like Sly.
He's that sort of,
And he does a lot of boxing,
Yeah.
and he's running in a tracksuit.
Yeah.
And I was like, this very much reminds me of the Rocky film.
Yeah.
But
he's very much facing like a question of faith, isn't he?
yeah,
He's lost a bit of faith.
yeah, and he's obviously seeing what's going on with his mom.
He's guilt-ridden about that, I think.
Oh, massively. You can see him go into his little flat, and he's like just got his bed with his crucifix
It's
above
just
it.
very simplistic.
Yeah, but it just shows the simple life that these, especially back then, people in the clergy lived. Yeah. So obviously she's being investigated for all these things, and
she begins to show some very strange signs of behavior, possible psychological problems, right?
Yeah.
There's a first instance of when they're all having the pie downstairs, and she comes downstairs and just urinates in front of them, stood up.
Yeah.
And says she's going to die up there tonight or something.
Yeah. So she's starting to
shows.
Well, it's like she's starting to realize something is happening to her or around her.
Yeah.
And obviously, no one believes what's going on. But then the bit that sort of convinces the mum that this isn't anything medical is the bit with the bed. And the bed just is up off the floor, shaking, and she's screaming.
Yeah, that gave Linda Blair some serious back injuries.
I can imagine. And the bit where she's being slung around, where her legs are flat to the bed.
So bad.
And we talked about this actually, because I mean, this isn't, a fucking Deirdre, but I've got epilepsy, right? And I've been told that during epileptic seizures, my body convulses to a point where it folds up.
One of those beds.
In the way that she does.
Yeah,
flashes around in that way. And obviously she's conscious now when it happens.
The muscles, the power of the muscles.
I can't tell you the pain that it leaves you in. But obviously in some cultures and within some religious kind of beliefs, like historically, epilepsy has been seen as like possession and been treated more with exorcism than it has with medication. So yeah, that's just a little side thing. But when I saw that scene, I was like, oh my god, that must be what it looks like. But she's like screaming, saying like, help me. Like, so she's still her at that point. And then it ends up being
you get little things like that, don't you? Before, about the Ouija board.
Yeah.
Mr. Howdy.
Yeah.
Call him.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't play with things like that. I got a story about that later, a link to the spooky stories.
God, I've never done
I honestly don't.
And also
send a look for a lot of tests.
Yeah, and when she speaks to the doctor, the doctor comes out and says that she said something horrendous to the doctor, to the mum, and they laugh.
Yeah.
Can you remember what it is?
No.
I don't even think we could repeat it
Okay.
on this. I think the C word is used.
Oh, okay.
When the doctor's first testing her, and he says, "Oh, does she ever does she display behavioural problems?"
Is this when she's in the hospital?
This is one of the first visits to the doctors.
Right. Okay.
And the mum's still finding it quite
Oh yeah, I do remember. It's just some like vile language that she's coming out with, isn't she? Calling him some awful stuff. I can't
I
remember what it
think
is.
she tells him to look
Right. Okay.
something
Yeah.
on her.
Awful.
And he's like, they find it funny, they laugh, but obviously
Yeah.
it doesn't become a laughing matter,
No.
especially some of the later
Oh
scenes
my
with the
gosh.
crucifix.
Well, that crucifix scene, yeah. So when, because they come to visit then, don't they? They come
Yeah.
to visit at home at that point.
Yeah.
They say, look, something's terrible.
Yeah.
Obviously, you watched the longer version, right?
Yeah.
So there's certain scenes in that which weren't in the original.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute. But the scene where they walk in and she's stabbing herself, and it sort of cuts there for a second, where she's stabbing.
Yeah.
The author of the book, who worked really closely with William Friedkin, the director, really, really did not want that scene there. When
Yeah.
it cut, he said, "Look, you can have it happening." He said,
Yeah.
"You can have it happening in the room, but just don't cut to the close up of
Yeah.
it. It's awful."
Yeah. Yeah.
But William Friedkin won the argument in the end, and it stayed in. But it is a horrendous
Awful
scene.
because
And then grabs her mother's head
and
and
oh,
shoves her head there. Yeah, it's
yeah.
horrendous, awful.
And the voice has changed by then. It's the
Oh
devil, like,
god,
wah,
yeah,
wah, wah,
God,
wah, 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 like
yeah,
sort of voice.
yeah.
Like,
And they actually used. I was watching a part of a documentary. I actually sent you a video about it the other day, didn't I? I don't know if you had a look at any of them on TikTok, but
oh
it
yeah,
was to do with the Exorcist. And they were talking about how I think it was William Friedkin was looking at a certain. I can't remember the painter's name, but he was looking at these paintings, this certain painters, and he said, "I want her to sound like these paintings." Like, what
oh
thing to say to a sound engineer?
god, yeah,
Now, the sound engineer obviously went away and did loads of stuff. And he came up with the idea that he wanted like the idea of legion. Like there's hundreds and thousands of souls. They're all talking at once, but they all form one voice. But you can all
okay,
hear slightly separate voices in them.
yeah,
And that's what they came up with, and that is terrifying.
yeah,
That voice, when you can almost hear a hint of a few voices within it,
yeah,
all saying the same thing. That scares me.
definitely, yeah.
It took
It's like layered.
yes,
When it is the voice that you can now hear as what would be the voice of the devil. You know, like in the Passion of Christ, where there's
yeah,
that scene with the devil on the woman's back.
mm-hmm.
That's very freaky.
Yeah, it stays with
But
that stare and
but
everything.
but that's what you can imagine the voice to be. The only time the voice has been done very differently is obviously in the South Park movie with Satan in that.
Yeah, Satan was slightly different in that, wasn't
Very, very different.
he? Yeah,
Much more sensitive.
yeah, sensitive chap.
Yeah.
In a
Um.
very loving relationship
Yes. With yeah.
with Saddam
Saddam
Hussein. Just
Hussein.
say
Yeah.
it.
Maybe we need to do that film at some point.
Oh my god, yeah, that. We'll just say it. We'll do that in Team
Yeah.
America.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Um. So the bit I like the insight into the psychiatric ward when the priest goes to see his mum.
Yes,
It's so heartbreaking to see how she reacts to him
that's
because obviously
awesome.
she knows he's like let her be there,
Mm-hmm.
and I think there's layers to that. Obviously, like the Italian American sort of
Yep.
family, like family comes first.
Yeah.
Like we know, I know a lot of Italian people. Like family's obviously huge,
Yeah.
and just that kind of her turning her back on him.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just
And a lot of
awful.
that, I think during that time in the 70s, it was a hard time
Yeah.
in America in the 70s. I think a lot of that died. That sort of look after your elders, come and live with. They didn't have the space.
No, no, no.
So they just ended up in a home, ended
Yeah.
up in an asylum,
Well,
things
that
like that.
was like an asylum, and
Mm.
all the women are coming up to him and they're saying different things to him, and they're
Mm-hmm.
all just, you can tell they're all like drugged out their
Oh yeah,
minds,
completely.
like sedated,
Mm-hmm.
and the stuff. I mean, I remember thinking when the nurse lets him on, that I was expecting her to be really conscious of like, right, let's slip through the door quick, but they know that no one's going to move that fast to get out the door.
No,
it's quite nonchalant. It's quite like, oh yeah,
they're all just doddering around.
And like, you don't just let people in and just let people come up and touch and grab people on wards. Do you know what I mean? I've worked on psychiatric wards. You don't, you look after the visitors. You get in and put them in a room, and then people come and visit in the room because it's safe and it means people can have their privacy. But in there, it's like, well, just she's in the bed up there. Off you go.
There you go. Yeah.
So I was interested in the side stories, and there's certain moments, obviously, that I'd heard about or knew about. One was the walking backwards.
Oh my god!
Like
the spider walk.
Oh my god! Down the
See,
stairs.
that wasn't in the original. That was
Right.
cut from the original. Then it was added to, I think, the director's cut, and it obviously also sits in the now extended cut, which is the version you've never seen. I don't know why they had to put that on the site. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Just call it Eureka or something. Yeah. But yeah, that stayed with me for a long time because her tongue.
Yeah.
Lizard tongue.
Oh, I know.
Sticking out as well, and just the fact that she tries to crawl towards the sort of maid or helper or wherever she is. Nanny. I think she's the nanny.
Yeah.
That's what we were getting to. She's not a sister. She's a nanny.
That's it.
She's a nanny. Yeah. And she's like crawling towards her, isn't she, down the stairs trying to get that. That was horrendous. And the music, the piano music that goes with it. Yeah, it's perfect. Horrendous, but perfect.
There's certain parts where you feel like you're relieved for the mum that she's believed that something more is going on here. This can't be explained by science. This isn't a medical condition.
No.
This isn't
science is
a urine infection gone wrong.
No, because they literally concede defeat, don't they, at the end?
Well, yeah.
Instead of you trying a priest.
Yeah, but I, medicine only has certain answers for things. Well, I mean, this is reality, and actually they know that they've done all they can. And of course,
if you exhaust all options,
and they're paid to find out what's going on from a medical perspective. That's their world, but their world isn't the priest's world.
No.
So then, of course,
fun fact for you: one of those doctors, and I think it's the doctor that actually talks to Ellen Bernstein, the actress who plays the mum, about have you tried a priest? He actually turned out to be a serial killer in real life, I believe, and was found years later, to be a murderer. So
wow.
I think he was actively killing people at the time of being in that film as well. So that was an interesting fact for you.
Good casting.
It's just the whole story of that film is just wild.
Yeah.
One of the scenes I do like is the dream sequence.
Yes.
Of Father Karras's dream sequence when he sees his mother at the subway.
Yeah.
And he's running towards her, and you catch that glimpse. Did you see that?
Yeah,
yeah. That stays with him.
But also, there's a scene in the subway where the homeless guy asks him for money.
Yeah.
And obviously, you find out at the end that was the devil.
Yeah.
Talking to him then.
Yes. Yeah.
Another question I had for you. So I want to obviously come to the main scene where you've got the devil's took full control now. But when the detective gets involved, he's a good character. I like him. The one who's investigating the murder, because obviously is it Robbie who's the film director?
What was his name?
I think it was his name.
Anyway,
but he falls out the window and goes down those steps. But then we realise he wouldn't have just fallen.
No,
he's been pushed.
Yeah,
but she wouldn't have the strength. But we know that
maybe she would.
And the mum knows she's got the strength because she is incredibly strong at that time.
Yes.
And they do say it, don't they? The doctors, they say, well, you can get incredible strength if you don't know you haven't got it. Like, mothers can pick up a car if their baby's trapped underneath it, etc. And that does happen. So him getting involved, obviously, I was going to ask you this as well. So he speaks to the priest, the one who's involved in the exorcism, the Italian-American guy.
Yeah. Father Karras.
And they have, and they have, yes, I don't know using his name.
I've only remembered it because I watched it so many times.
When he asks him about, he's got tickets to the cinema, and then they have this exchange, and then right at the end, a new priest comes along, and they have the exact same exchange, and he says exactly the same things back to the detective. He uses the same lines as a way to get out of going to the cinema with him. Is there any relevance in that? Did you even pick up on that?
So hang on. So
he's talking to Father Karras, and he says that he's got.
So Father Karras is dead, right?
At this
Right.
point,
Yeah.
after, yeah, but the
And
priest.
his friend comes up and holds his hand and reads him his last rites, right? He's dead on the floor. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, but then after that, when it's all gone and the girl's gone away in the car and everyone's okay, the priest, the other priest, not the old guy,
No,
the new,
not Max von Sydow, the other one,
yeah, has a conversation with the detective, and it's an exact carbon copy of the conversation he had with Father Karras, but the name of the film's changed, but they say exactly the same thing to each other.
Okay.
Is there relevance in that?
I don't know.
If anyone knows or
well,
noticed,
please, because I don't even, that doesn't even twig with me now. I'm gonna have to.
I'll have to remember there's certain words that are used, but
I'm gonna have to rewatch it now again.
Yeah,
the whole thing, just for those 2 moments.
But yeah, let me know.
Well, yeah, I'm gonna.
But
I'll ring you. As soon as I've finished, I'll ring.
Yeah, let me know what you think.
Yes, the I was going to say something about Father Karras. I like his battle of I'm completely losing faith.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I have to have faith to try and save this girl. I like that.
Yeah.
Clash with him.
Well, it's almost that the devil is there to prove to him that his faith is real.
Yes. Yeah. It's there to
Because
test him.
you can't.
That's also something else I was going to say. Sorry, it's just popped into my head. Before I forget, because I'm getting old and I will forget. The director, can't remember his name for the life of me. One of my main questions in my head, which raises a lot of questions about why Reagan started behaving the way Reagan was behaving, was why is he in her room anyway? Why is he in a 13 to 14-year-old girl's room anyway, late at night, by himself, when he gets pushed out of the window?
Yeah.
Why? That to me is a very suspicious situation. And you see shadows in there, and you don't know if it's her walking around in the room or if you don't know if it's someone else in the room. Like there seems to be for me in the Exorcist, there seems to be this underlying sense of some sort of worrying sexual assault situation with Reagan going on, where she's repressing something that's happening. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I get that a lot, and I got that from that. Why is the director in there? Why is he in a room of a 14-year-old girl? I mean, even if you just want to say hello, it's a strange thing to do at a pie when you've been drinking and she's in bed.
Yeah, definitely. Odd. Well, no, they send him home from the party, don't they? He's there to look after her one night, isn't it?
Oh, is that what it is?
They send him out the door when he's drunk at the party. After he has to go with the German guy, but then there's a reason why. So the mum is out doing something else,
right?
And he's there looking after her.
Yeah.
And then he ends up being shoved out the window.
Strange. I find him a bit of a strange character. I always got that sense that there was something.
Well, that would be if we were to completely dismiss the supernatural. Then obviously, talking with highly sexualized language,
yes, exactly,
displays of sexual sort of whatever to shock people,
mutilation as well
can be a sign of abuse, for sure. Like I think it leaves you with it always leaves you with the question of what is happening.
Yes,
until the point at which. I mean, it's pretty like her whole appearance has changed.
It's it's a physiological change in her body, and you can words appear and
the help me
appear
in her belly.
And apparently, I mean, this is based on a true story in Georgetown, in Washington, right? This is The Exorcist, but it wasn't a girl; it was a boy.
Yeah,
it was a long, long time ago. And apparently, one of the instances in that true story that is documented in a book that The Exorcist is therefore based off the book. That happened, apparently. Words started to appear and symbols started to appear on his body and then disappear and things like this when he was possessed. So that's why they use that in that. But that, when that starts to happen, that's when you realize there is no other reason for this. It is a full-on sort of spiritual possession or some sort of evil or something. I mean, it's weird, isn't it?
Massively. And they're trying to talk to her through the devil.
Yes.
And that's when the words come up, like she is in there somewhere. But they've fully taken over. And just, physically there's a change. Obviously the colour of the skin, all the sort of additional sort of cracking of the lips, and but also just like the demeanour, like the eyes change.
Yeah.
Like there's just an
Everything.
evil
Yeah,
look.
it's just a sinister, sly.
It is.
Yeah.
It's antagonistic,
Mm-hmm.
like because you're talking to the devil.
Yeah, it just wants to trick you and play with you and
Yeah.
mess you about. So one of the instances of a crazy William Friedkin director wanting a reaction from his actor that he wasn't getting was Father Garris,
Mm.
main priest, not the one that comes in later, but the main original priest, the one who's questioning his faith, the one with the mother. He has to jump around at some point, and I think it's to a noise. I think there's a scream. I think Reagan screams, and he does a quick bolt round. He's in the house somewhere else, or there's some noise that alerts him. He wasn't getting the reaction he wanted out of the actor, right? So he decided to go to the room. It's a set, so he decided to go to the room next door in the set, just outside the door, and just at the point he wanted the reaction, he fired a shotgun.
No way.
On the set, and he bolted around because he was so terrified. And that's the one they used.
Oh my god!
Absolutely insane.
So obviously the final scene, well, not the final scene, but the main scene where they do the exorcism is.
I think it's iconic though when just that image, just quickly, of Max von Sydow turning up.
Yeah,
great actor.
Yeah,
Hat.
Yeah,
and stands under the lamppost and the light. That image.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it's the poster as
Yeah, it
well
is.
as the cover of the film, but that image is such an iconic image.
It really is. Yeah.
So good, and
Yeah.
I love the way he just arrives, and
Yeah.
it's just like. She's like, okay, do you want to settle in and I'll get you something? He's like, no, I want to start straight away.
Yeah.
Just no messing about.
Yeah.
I love it. It's completely down to business.
He's on task.
He
knows what he's got to do.
He knows he's dealing with like the actual devil.
Yeah. So like time's pressing.
Yes.
And his biggest thing he says to Father Karras is like, he's gonna say things to you to make you.
He's gonna trick you.
Yeah. And then he does because he
He
uses his mum's voice.
Mother, yeah, and he actually ends up seeing his mother. Sadly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
hard.
It's again to come up with the story and to come up with the detail of what's said and how it's said and all that sort of stuff. It's just so incredible.
Good. The floating on the bed scene.
Yeah. Amazing.
You know, and that's a moment I think where Father Karras obviously. I can't remember what's the other father's name that Max von Sydow plays. You got Father Karras and
can't think.
Oh my god, it's terrible. I can't remember that. Yeah, forgive me. Anyway,
Father, forgive me.
Yeah, forgive me. But not much reaction to her hovering. But Father Karras is like, oh my god, like okay, like this is craziness. Suddenly, I think that's his moment of okay, this is a powerful thing.
Definitely.
So good. But obviously, he dies, the older priest, Max von Sydow. And that's when he grabs her, doesn't he, and says, come into me, go into me instead. And he.
And there's that perfect moment where he takes back control and dives out the window.
You can see the switch right in his eyes. You see the colours, and then you see it again. And he's about to go back to Reagan.
Yeah.
And that's when he forces himself out the window. Yeah. Very good.
He's got control for a split second.
Yeah. And another story from the set. The moment when the other father, who also I can't remember his name, I'm terrible, is knelt down with him, holding his hand as Father Karras is dying. He's reading him his last rites, right? The actor of that, I believe he was an actual priest. I think he is an actual priest. Said that William Friedkin had done about 20 takes of that scene, right, of him holding his hand and reading him his last rites. He's like, I'm just not getting it. It's just not realistic enough. Please go again. And he turned around to William Friedkin, right, and went, William, I've been doing this for like 20 takes. It's 1:30 in the morning. I just want to go home. I've had enough. And William Friedkin turned around to him and said, do you trust me? And he's like, what do you mean? He's like, do you trust me? He goes, yeah. And William Friedkin just went whack and slapped him around the face. And he was like totally in shock. And he said, right, go and do it now. And he went back behind the camera, filmed it. And the actor said, his hands, as he's shaking, are genuinely shaking because he's just been slapped around the face super hard by William Friedkin. And he was angry. And his adrenaline's pumping. So his hand was automatically going. And he said as soon as he got off camera, he was like, well, he said, you're a dickhead. Yeah. But it worked.
Oh my god.
Genius.
That is genius.
William Friedkin was a very, very special director.
Well, yeah. I mean, by any means necessary to get what you want.
And just for The Exorcist alone.
Yeah. So, incredible film.
Yeah, it really does. I think it stands up as just a film. You don't have to say it's a horror film. Obviously, it is a horror film.
Yeah.
But I think just alone as a sort of a film about faith and losing faith and finding faith in certain situations, in loss and grief and things like that, I think it's a really good film.
Yeah, it is. And I will watch it again.
I will watch it again, yeah.
Definitely.
I mean, it's there and I'm going to watch it.
Because I think watching it the second time, you'll pick up on stuff you
I think
didn't
you
the
will,
first.
yeah. You soak up on stuff.
Yeah.
You definitely will. You will spot stuff.
So I've been well indoctrinated into the horror world.
Now. Yeah, you're in there.
And like I said, I chose to watch Speak No Evil this week, which
Yes.
was again not jumpy, but the idea of what can happen and what people are capable of. I think that with in combination with some amazing performances made it well worth the watch.
I do need to watch it. I think we should watch both.
Yeah, definitely.
Watch the Danish one. We'll watch the new one.
Yeah,
Mr. McAvoy.
Definitely.
And we'll do an episode on that. I think
He's
it'll be worth it. Oh, he's amazing.
So great.
Play anything.
Yeah.
Can literally play anything.
Yeah. And I saw a review that was like, horror films now, just cast him. Just cast him for anything.
Just put him in there.
Because he will do what? I mean, I've seen it coming up that Split's classed as a horror. I don't know.
I'd say that was more of a psychological thriller. Maybe.
But this is what I've liked about these ones you've given me, is that they sort of tip that psychological thriller up into horror. I like that. And then, I don't know where, obviously you've got your proper sort of slashers and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Which I think are their own sort of, I wouldn't class as just horror film. I'd say, okay, that's a slasher film.
Yeah.
Friday the 13th, slasher film.
Yeah. Scream.
Scream, weirdly meta sort of parody.
Yeah, parody.
Comedy, drama. Yeah, slasher. Nightmare on Elm Street, slasher.
I've seen these new ones. Is it Terrifier? Is that the new one with the clown awful face?
Apparently, it's just a lot of sloppy gore, gooey gore, and it's all right. And back in the 80s, those sort of shocker films were like, whoa, but I don't think those, they have their place.
Yeah.
But they're not for me.
Yeah.
To be honest, I want a bit more depth. The thing that scares me the most is the human condition
100%.
more than anything else.
And each one of these three films does that really well. And I think that's what makes them truly horrific.
Yes.
Or horrifying.
Yeah.
Not horrific.
Yeah, no, yeah. I mean,
they're good.
Horrifying.
But they make them horrifying because you think, well, what would I do in that situation? What would I do if that was my daughter?
Oh, gosh.
What would I do if that was happening? Because you hear these tapes of kids who've been possessed.
I really hate that stuff.
Oh, because you just think, well, it's either really, really severe trauma or
something really, really weird's going on.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, talking about weird things, hit me up with some of your stories. Come on.
Okay.
Come on.
So I'll try and keep it concise.
Yeah.
But my mate Luke.
Okay.
Grew up in a house. So yeah, I lived in a city, and a lot of my mates lived in a town not far away from the city, and he lived further out from that town.
Right. Okay.
Out, kind of one road out. It's towards like villages, and lived in this. Well, when I used to go there in the sort of mid 2000s onward, it was like it had 4 floors, 9 bedrooms, big place, multi-acre garden.
Okay.
Going through a gate. Weirdly, once when I was leaving, actually, my dad came to pick me and a couple of my mates up to take us back. The road was an absolute left trap round there, and this guy was going way too quick, lost control, came over, smashed into the fence, survived.
Oh, okay.
My dad went and checked that he was okay, and then people decided to get out of the car and go and have a go at the bloke, and it was like, yeah, I know he's driving too quick, he lost control, but
so his knee died.
He nearly died. Like, let him.
Give him a second.
Yeah. So as you went in, there was a little house on the right hand side, which his nan lived in.
Okay.
When I used to go there.
Like Anna.
Yeah, but like almost like a bit of like a guard post.
Okay.
To a point, I think. I don't know how much to say. You wouldn't have wanted to try and get in there.
Okay.
Without permission.
Right. Okay.
Because you'd have been stopped abruptly at the gate.
So she was ready with
He was ready.
MK.
Not quite, but yeah, she was ready.
Chain gun.
And they had like Rottweilers as like proper guard dogs. To a point where when we went round as kids, you weren't allowed when we went in, the rotties had to be put in
away.
I mean, in a room that's was like a big utility room, but it was for them. The guy I mentioned earlier who watched. Actually, this might make sense. The guy I mentioned earlier, he watched this. He used to like go up to the door and like try and wind. The one who watched Blair Witch at 9.
Okay.
He used to like make noises at the door, try and wind the dogs
That's
up.
what happens when you watch Blair Witch at 9 years old.
Yeah. So we had these two dogs when I went. They had another one before.
Okay.
Sparky and Shinobi. They were called Spartacus and Shinobi. Strong names for Rottweilers.
That's good.
But they would have ripped you apart if they didn't know who you were. They were only the family were allowed to see. Anyway, this house, beautiful, but like was built in 1891.
Okay.
And his mum and dad moved in there in 85.
Okay.
Right. And at the time, it was what they thought was like a 2-story house with, I don't know how many bedrooms they would have thought it would have, 4 maybe.
Yeah.
They knew it had other floors, but they weren't accessible.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's a big. You can see from the outside. It was covered in ivy. It had like sort of turrets.
One of those classic, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's your mate's house, so you don't see it as scary, but it would be.
Yeah.
It would be a good setting for something either off Harry Potter or off a horror film.
Yeah.
So yeah, built in 1891, and they moved in there in 85, and my mate's parents were expecting his older brother.
Right.
So his dad would go out to work every morning, sort of 4:30, get up, get out, and all day behind this wooden kind of blockade that was blocking off the 3rd floor, his mum could hear like the clanging of metal, like metal noises of like horses, like a horse sort of like the sort of, I don't know, like that sort of,
yeah, that sort of, yeah.
And like the sound of like metal being like pressed, like those sorts of sounds. And she used to say to his dad, "I can hear this all day. I'm not going mad. Like I can hear this noise." And he was like, "Look, we're here now." She was like, "We need to move because I'm not happy." And he was like, "Do you know what? We're here. We're gonna keep this house.
We'll make the best of it."
So he removed the blockade.
Oh God.
Went upstairs, found that there were another 4 bedrooms up there, loads of rooms like that had just been blocked off. And from the day they opened the blockade, never heard the noise of the horses and the metal clanging. Now, fast forward to 2014, they're selling the house. Okay. Right? There's a whole side story about who ended up buying it, but I can't tell that because I think there's a legal case going on right now.
Yeah, don't get us involved in that. Jeez.
2014, they're selling the house, put it up for sale. They're not getting much in terms of interest, but eventually they get a phone call. His mum gets a phone call this day, and she thinks it's an estate agent because it's the area code for where we live. But it's not. It's this old lady, and she's like, "Oh, I'm seeing that you're selling house. Please, could I come and look at it because I grew up there when I was a child?" So his mum's like, "Yeah, of course." They're Irish, they're very hospitable.
Yeah,
like, come one, come all. So invite this lady up to the house. And so this house has less acres now than it used to have. There's a whole backstory to it where it was owned by like, I think extensions of the royal family back in the day. It had like 1,000 acre, but it had now been compartmentalized into like farms and stuff like that. So anyway, this old lady comes to the house. She gets there. She arrives in a taxi. She's got a walking stick. She hobbles up the drive. They invite her in, show her around the house, show what they've done to it. They didn't do massive amounts of like changing much to the house because it would have cost a fortune. It's like a 9-bedroom house. So anyway, she walks out with my mate's mum and they're walking along and she just stops and she just bursts into tears. And she stops and she's looking at what's now been converted into some garages.
Right.
And she said, "I'm really sorry. It's just that when I grew up here, my dad was a blacksmith and he would spend every day when I would go to work in the mornings." Well, no, sorry, when he would be working into the night and I would come out and say good night to him from here. Like he would be working, he wouldn't hear me, but he'd be in there banging metal, horses. And he said that his mum was like, "That was the biggest I told you so moment ever."
Yes.
To his dad.
100%.
That the person who lived there before them That was what she could hear.
That's crazy.
Now, he also... So I stayed in this house a number of times, and it did... Because it was so big, some of the...
naturally,
So some of the windows didn't shut, and it was very cold, and I mean, to heat it would have cost a small fortune. Yeah. So it was selective where the heating went on and stuff like that. And so he told me 3 stories, right? I'm going to tell you one quickly.
Okay, go on.
One, when he was about 9, him and another lad we went to school with were up on the 3rd floor, which was already scary enough.
Okay.
And up on the 3rd floor, in one of the rooms, they had this ornamental machete.
Okay.
That was like on a wooden plinth with like a thing with the handle went into it, and it was huge, and it would like point to 11 o'clock if it was in the stand.
Okay.
So it was in the stand. They were playing in this room, and they both got this real feeling of like fear. So, like, one triggered off the other, and they end up running downstairs. Don't go in the room where the machete is.
No.
Go downstairs, calm down, and the other lad, not my mate, but the other lad who we went to school with, said, "I've left my game up there." It must have been like a Nintendo game or something. They went back upstairs. The machete was in the middle of the floor. And he said at that age we wouldn't have been able to pick it up out of the plinth. Then he said his brother used to tell him a lot of ghost stories. He was scared anyway, but he got this real weird feeling one night in his room. So even though it was a 9-bedroom house, their bedrooms, his was here, his brother's was there, and his parents was there.
Yeah.
So he got really scared one night, went into his parents' room, and it was his dad had one of those digital alarm clocks, and the time was 3:16. Parents calmed him down, whatever, went back to bed. Then another night he went into the room, and he explained it to me that it was his first ever experience of sleep paralysis. He slept on the floor in his parents' room. He had just had this thing this one night. I can't sleep in my room, too scared.
Okay.
Slept on the floor, lay there. It saw a cloak come into the room, right? And his mum had like an oval mirror in like a cove, like a stand-up mirror. He said, and the cloak floated over to the oval mirror, stood and stared into it. And he said he was just frozen. He couldn't move. He was like sleep paralysis, like couldn't scream, couldn't pull the cover over him. He said, and then it turned around and it was faceless there. And then it floated out the room. And then he was able to move, looked at the time, 3:16. And he said he always woke up because he ended up getting a digital alarm clock in his room. And he said the amount of times he woke up at 3:16, same time.
And then wake up at 3:16 now tomorrow.
Probably will.
Great.
Last one.
Go on.
And this was the one that got me. Now, this guy, I mean, he's one of my best friends. I trust him completely, so I've got no reason not to believe this stuff. And this is his experience. And he said to me, when you think about it, you could think these are dreams, these are nightmares, these are sleep paralysis things. But woke up in the night, needed a toilet, went for a wee. So there was a toilet, but there was also a separate bathroom.
Yeah.
Went for a wee and just got this sense that he had to go into the bathroom. And he said he went into the bathroom and he felt someone, there was no one there, grab him and shove him against the wall and hold him against the boiler.
For this. Okay.
And he said it felt like there were like nails being driven through his shoulder blades to pin him to the wall off the floor.
Oh my God.
And then he dropped.
All was fine, yeah.
And then he went and ran into his parents and was like, and he said, no, he didn't. He ran into his own bed and he got under the duvet and he was just like,
gives me goosebumps now.
And if you, I'll show you pictures of the house.
Okay.
But yeah, there was. Yeah,
that's creepy. Sense. That's creepy stuff, man.
And staying there myself, I only ever stayed there with a big group of mates. We'd all stay in the same room, but so it was always,
Yeah.
But it just had that feel to
that
it.
Weird vibe.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, I used to get that, right? My old mate's house, right? As I said before, we were about 14, 15.
Yeah.
At the time. We were like brothers, man. Yeah, unfortunately, now he's passed away, but we were like brothers. We just hang around every day, just all the time. Some holidays, after school, whatever. And then he moved into this new house. He used to live up on this area up on the hill nearby where we are. And then he moved lower down into the village and lived in a little cul-de-sac. Now, it was the last house on the left. And I'm pretty sure that's the name of a horror film.
I think it is. On the left, yeah.
But he lived in the last house on the left of this cul-de-sac. I won't say the road name because there might be people local who know or who might live in it now.
Yeah.
Just a little bungalow, was there? Now, apparently it came out, the stories came out eventually. We found out through next door neighbours and things that there was an old lady who lived there, very, very old, and she died in the house, right? As people do.
Mm-hmm.
She just died in the house. Now, nothing ever happened in the house for months and months and months until me and Aaron, his name was, we thought it would be a good idea. He used to live with his nan. I won't go into. There's a very long story of why he didn't live with his mum and dad. He lived with his nan. Excuse me. And we went up. We thought it'd be a good idea to go upstairs into the loft and look around. No one ever gone up into the loft and looked around, right? So we went up there. Yeah, don't ever do that. If you're listening now and you're thinking about doing it, don't.
Especially not tonight of all nights.
Especially not tonight. So we go up, shine a torch around. Automatically, that's terrifying because you're waiting for. In my mind, as soon as I go up into a loft somewhere and I shine a torch, I'm waiting for something to be like that, ready to crawl towards me really quickly. Right? Yeah. Terrifying. Yeah. All that was up there was a chair, like an old chair, and it'd been tipped over like that, and then there was a saddle for what used to be used on horses, like a horse saddle, just over the top of it, as if it was like, I don't know, like a toy, like some kid had been using it as like a toy saddle, like a pretend horse. And two bamboo sticks, two very old looking, sort of metal topped on each end, but very polished, nice bamboo sticks, right? And they were strong old sticks. So being 14, 15 years old, we grabbed those sticks. We were like, yeah, we'll have those. And we started messing around with them, going fighting. And from that moment, right, that we took those things out of there, everything just went weird. So there would be instances of I would walk up to the tap. Now these are old taps, right? These aren't just knock them and they come on. They're the like turn with each 4 points sticking out of them. There was two instances when I walked up to the tap and I went to go and wash my hands, and the tap, I could physically see the tap turn. Jeez. And the tap came on, and I was like, and it freaked me out straight away. Yeah. Another time, so we in between that instance and this next one, a load of us had done a Ouija board. We thought it would be a good idea. It was not a good idea.
You thought things are good to do as a teenager.
It's a ridiculous thing to do. I just genuinely don't think you should mess about with stuff like that.
No.
We did one of those, right? Some weird stuff happened in that, but you know what it's like.
Yeah,
You don't know who's pushing it
of
or
course,
who's messing with things.
Yeah.
But then after that, things got sort of exponentially increased in stuff that was happening. So Aaron said that he fell asleep on the sofa one night, very similar to your mate being pushed up against a wall. He said he felt a sudden urge. He woke up and he felt a sudden urge to sit up in bed on the sofa. He said he just felt panicked, like he had to move. And then all of a sudden, he said it literally felt like a hand had pushed him on his back and pushed him to the floor, and he was face down. And he said as he tried to get up, he literally couldn't move, and it said it felt like a hand was literally just pushing him to the floor. And he said it only lasted for like seconds.
That's enough.
Yeah. He said, but then he suddenly got up and nothing was going on. There was another time there where constant times of his dog. So we had a.
Well, this can be a bit of a portal, can't it?
Yeah.
Is when dogs like what?
Are just staring at things and barking at things. There was one, a few times, where he had a single toilet and then a bathroom right next door to it, probably similar to the one you were talking about, but had an old latch lock that you slide across in the bathroom. I would say 5 or 6 times the dog used to get locked in there at night. At night, always at night, and suddenly the dog would start barking, and we'd be like, "Where is it?" We'd try the bathroom door. The bathroom door's locked. And we're like, "Is someone in there?"
No.
And we suddenly realised the dog's in there. We had to go outside and climb in through the window and unlock it. No, there's no way.
No, a dog can't do that.
It's got opposable thumbs.
No.
It's just not going to happen. It was very strange. So then we got to the point of I got to the point of I can't be in this house anymore.
Yeah.
It's freaking me out. It really, really did freak me out. And then I think it was a couple of weeks later, I was like, okay, fine. Come back in, and we were sat in the lounge. We were in the kitchen getting some Coke, I think, Coca-Cola.
Yeah, of course.
We were 14, 15. Even now it'd be Coca-Cola. We walk into the lounge, go back, sit down. I think we just watched something on telly. All of a sudden, we hear doors going bang, 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 slamming. We're like, what the hell was that, right? And no joke, we walk out into the kitchen. No one else is in the house, just me and him. His nan's at work. Walk around. It's literally 10-yard walk to the kitchen. Kitchen door's now shut. We left it open. We open the kitchen door. The bottle of Coke is in the middle, slap bang in the middle of the room. All the doors are open, all the cupboard doors, every drawer is open, cutlery drawer, and every cupboard door underneath the sink. And I was like, Aaron, I was like, I can't do this anymore. I was like, it's freaking me out now. And I didn't go back in the house for months and months and months. He eventually convinced me. He's like, look, it's really not that bad now. Nothing's happened in ages. He said he put put the bamboo sticks back. That was one of the first things we did.
Yeah.
Months and months later, right? I have a sleepover there, as you do. We're playing. I think it was N64 at the time, GoldenEye.
Oh, that's the best game.
What a game, right?
Amazing.
Playing that, and as a tag, because we could hear, you used to hear running in the loft, so you would hear it just go as it would get closer to his room, and then go further away as it got across the house, and we would hear it, and we would be like, we would say to each other, just ignore it, just don't think about it. Honestly, it was horrible. I really used to struggle to get sleep. We used to turn the TV up and stuff. His nan was there, but he would talk to his nan about it, but she would just deny. She would be like, don't talk to me about it, don't talk to me about it, because it would freak her out.
Yeah,
and she didn't want to know, because she thought, if I know about it, I'm going to think about it, and I'm going to see stuff. But she used to hate it as well. But we record, so on old hi-fi stereos, for all you kids out there, you used to be able to just have a radio, right? And you'd have two tape decks, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
And you'd be able to press record, and you could just record if it had the mic built in at the top.
Yeah.
You could just record yourself talking.
Yeah, you could, yeah.
So as a test, we did that overnight, right? So just about an hour before we went to sleep, we recorded it. It was like a 3-hour roll take or something.
Yeah.
And we recorded it. You can hear it. We listened to the tape for hours. It was about 2-hour tape or something. We listened to the whole thing through, just sat there listening, occasionally chatting, and with it playing in the background, no noises, just us breathing.
Yeah.
You could hear both of us breathing at separate times, because we're asleep in the same room. Then you heard, like, on his desk, you could hear like papers move.
Yeah.
But obviously that could just be a wind.
Yeah.
Which is fine. But then you heard, and it was as clear as day, like someone had gone right up to the radio, and it just went shh, 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 and that was it. And we were both, and you could still hear us both breathing in the background, like we were both asleep. It was, and that was the one for me. Then I was like, can't come into this house anymore. It's freaking me out. Eventually, he moved. I think they moved a year later. But I would just meet him out then, and we would go out. But I never went into the house again after that. After that one,
oh man,
honestly, it was so bad, so bad. It's so much stuff went on. It was horrible.
It's
horrible. My mum's house in Gloucester was the other one. Oh, I shouldn't have said Gloucester. I don't know. But when she lived over there as a kid, she said lots of stuff happened. Weird poltergeisty stuff being moved. She said they were setting the table for dinner. Her and her brother, they were very young, went out. My nan, their mum came in, started shouting at them because it was all messed up, and they walked back in and the whole table was messed up. One time, I think it was an old dryer or something, she said, one of the old top-loading dryers that they used to use, had been pushed while they were in the other room, the whole family. And they could hear it slide across the room, and it was pushed against the door. And they opened the door. They left. I still know where that house is now. If we ever drive past it, I always point it out to my other half. I say, that's that house. But yeah, it's the really weird stuff.
Oh man,
it does freak me out. Some of it you just can't explain.
No, you can't, because like you said, with the whole like papers thing, or even like running, it could be pipes or whatever.
Yeah,
but
exactly. There's always some sort of reason that you would think, but some of the stuff, wow, terrifies me.
See, I've never really had any experiences of stuff myself, but there's been times where I've just felt really uneasy. Like I used to work in like children's homes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, not like these old Victorian,
No.
you
weren't walking around with a lantern.
No. But there was a place I worked at, like again, like out of the city towards a town. Like it was like a dual track, but you pulled off it, and there was this big house, and I don't know how long it had been there. It wasn't like ancient, but like it. I worked there, and there were, when I started working there, you always had two members of staff on at least, and you had to, obviously it was a 24/7 thing. These kids were
24/7
in care. And when I worked there were 3 girls there living there, all sort of teenagers. And there was one, so you always had to have 2 members of staff sleep in the
Right,
house.
yeah.
Now there was an office which doubled up as a bedroom,
Mm,
and then you had a bedroom upstairs, which was a spare room for another member of staff.
yeah.
And if the doors had alarms on, right?
Mhm.
So whenever any one of the kids got up to
It'd
go
go
to the
off.
toilet in the night, the alarm would go off. Now in the office, the alarm went off so loud it would like give you a heart attack.
Okay.
So whenever I could, I would sleep up in the other
Yeah.
bedroom if they gave me a choice. Because
Mm.
often it was mainly other like women I worked with were like, "No, I'll sleep down here. It's fine." Now there was one point where one of the girls had moved back home with her family, and the other 2 were on home leave.
Mm.
So you built up towards kids going and
Yeah,
staying
yeah.
with their families again and stuff. So they said, "Well, we need one of you to stay in the house because if they ring, you have to go and pick them up." Like,
Mm.
because the whole point was if you were up during the night, because often you were,
Yeah.
you had to sleep in, but you didn't sleep.
No.
Because what it took was one kid to decide, well, I ain't going to bed, and then
That's
you're
it,
up.
yeah.
So they all went home, and I was there on my own, and I've never been so freaked out in my
Uneasy.
life because I didn't obviously set the alarms and stuff, but I was in this bedroom, and when you just don't feel right. You
Yeah.
just feel so uneasy. You feel so on edge. You feel scared,
Mhm.
and you can't sleep.
No.
And when you sleep, you wake up. You feel like there's something there,
Mhm.
and I
You just get
can't
that
explain
feeling.
it.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I know, I get
But
that.
that was one of the most
I think,
scary nights.
and don't you think it's strange because a lot of times you hear these stories. Now, I'm not saying it's a ghost or it's a spirit of someone that's been alive and now they're there. I think maybe it's something, we don't understand all things to do with energy and
Yeah,
what happens to our energy once we,
no,
die, or how energy is stored within the atmosphere around us even,
yeah,
right? So I think, and it usually does seem to happen around these areas of like high trauma,
mm,
right, where there's heightened emotions,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
especially when there's like really sort of highly religious people who get highly emotional about their
mm,
religion and
mm,
sort of zealous about it. How quite a lot of those things tend to happen to those people. I think it almost like it opens up some sort of energy of
yeah,
something. I don't know what it is.
yeah,
I can't say it's a ghost. I can't say it's that. I can't say it's, but it seems to be usually some sort of, I wouldn't say negative energy, but some sort of traumatic
yeah,
energy that hasn't been properly resolved. It
yeah,
seems
yeah,
to hang around in places, and buildings seem to. It feels like they can hang on to those things, man. And
yeah.
it feels weird sometimes when you go into certain places. Like I used to security guard buildings at night, and there were certain ones
Oh
like you
yeah.
get that are just a bit like, no, we don't like doing that, and no guard would ever like doing it
No, no,
because they're
exactly.
weird.
Everyone got a feeling.
Horrible.
I think you're right. I think the argument always is, well, nothing's ever been proven, but by the very nature of the fact that it's not of this world,
Yeah,
or it isn't in ways in which we can understand how we measure
exactly.
matter or
Yeah.
things, then
Yes.
it wouldn't come up on our testing systems,
No.
would it?
No.
There's. I remember being told about it on my degree about this pot of money that's out there. If anyone can prove like paranormal activity, that it's like there's, oh, what was it
I think,
called?
yeah, I know what you mean.
Something fund, and it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
where you if you can prove it using our scientific methods, then you get like $1 million, but
Okay.
no one's ever been able to do it. But of course they haven't,
No.
because you can't prove it. I mean, we're not talking about Most Haunted here with Yvette Fielding and Derek Acora,
Oh, Derek Cora.
with some little.
Did you ever see the one when he did the Michael Jackson seance?
Oh, my mates used to
And it
watch
said,
this.
say hello to Quincy Jones for me. Honestly, said that.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
We're not talking about that sort of shit. We're
No,
talking about
no.
these are real life
Experiences of
experiences that
people, yes.
people who we know and trust have experienced, and people have experienced them with you.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
it's a collected experience,
Mm-hmm.
like the lad who was with my mate when the machete moved would testify to the fact that
Yeah.
that's what happened.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
So, yeah. It happens.
yeah,
I ain't got an answer for it, but it happens. There's some weird stuff.
I'm scared to go home now. I mean,
Spooktober.
it has spooked me out.
Yeah, it does.
I don't do well with this stuff.
No, it does creep me out, yeah.
But so that's our take.
Yeah.
And that's our
Spooktober episode.
That's our Spooktober.
There were so many other films that we could have talked about.
Yeah, and this isn't a flash in the pan thing. There'll always be next year's Halloween episode, and it doesn't mean that we can't do a great. Oh, okay, yeah, we need to lighten things up before we finish.
Yeah, that basically.
We can do horror films anytime. So if people want to look back through the back catalogue of stuff we've got on Spotify and on Apple and stuff like that, we've done. What have we done so far? We've done La Haine, we've done There Will Be Blood, we've done To Kill a Sacred Deer.
Yeah, the killing
of a sacred deer. Sorry. We have done Silence of the Lambs.
Silence of the Lambs. Yes. Possessor. That would go. That's crazy.
And Safe, Julianne Moore.
Yep. Yeah, I kind of love that.
So there are kind of usual standard episodes, aren't they, where we
Under
talk
the
about
Skin.
Under the Skin. Oh God, yeah, that was horrifying.
Yeah,
for its own reasons.
Yeah. So there's plenty there.
So what I was sort of trying to say is we don't usually just talk around a topic like Halloween. We focus on a film. So if people are really desperate for us to dissect their favorite horror film, then yeah, fire it over.
Yeah, let us know. We'll do. Well, yeah, and obviously we'll do whole episodes on certain films.
Actors,
on a certain
directors.
film, certain actors, directors. We'll do TV series, especially. We want to do things like Black Mirror, right? We want to touch on those.
Yeah, we do. We want
things
to.
Like that.
We want to do sort of mini series, aren't we, of series? So stuff like True Detective, which you've spoken about before, under your. So you did mention your High Inquiries TikTok.
High Inquiries TikTok, yeah. You may know me from that if you've come over from there and watching me here.
Yeah.
And look, I'm not actually that depressed. I'm all right.
Yeah, people tend to think you're very down. And
they say, "How do you manage to do these?"
Yeah.
Every time without getting depressed.
But I'm
like, well, I have to live.
Yeah, but I think well, we can talk about your TikTok at some point.
We'll do that one.
I think that would be a good episode to get to dive into the mind that creates. I'm going to say it. You'll hate this, but you have been called the father of horrorcore, which I'd never heard of until looking at your stuff.
Yes.
But there are a lot of people out there who very much like the stuff you make because it speaks to them in a lot of ways. So
that's nice.
There will be people watching this that will know you from that, and we will get into what goes on in there.
Yeah, we'll open up this, see what pours out.
Exactly.
We'll do a live. We want to do some lives on YouTube and stuff like that as well.
We do. Yeah.
So that'll be good.
Anyone's got any ideas about stuff they'd like people watching this?
I'm never watching. I'm blocking that.
Massacred
like that as well.
We do. Our listeners in America, they love Halloween over there, man. It's like Christmas.
National holiday.
Yeah. We've got to have something to fill the year before an election and
then Thanksgiving and then
Christmas and then New Year.
And then everyone's depressed.
Yeah, Christmas.
National holiday.
Cork kicks in.
That's when Cork hits its prime.
And that's when Cork.
Yeah, maybe.
So would you like? I've seen about 10 films. So the chance of me getting any of these, unless you say life is like a box of chocolates.
I was actually going to go for that one for a laugh.
You should have, because at least I'd have got one. Go on, hit me.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
Casablanca.
No, but right era-ish. Gone with the Wind. You were close. Okay.
I don't know either of those films.
Ready?
But I just have heard of Casablanca. Go on.
Here's looking at you, kid.
Oh. See, I should know this, even though I haven't seen it. This is ridiculous. People watching this because they're into films are going to think, why would I ever listen to his opinion on anything?
It's an old film.
I don't know.
Casablanca.
Oh, you're joking.
I picked that one on purpose. I had about a selection of 5, but I looked down the list and picked that one next on purpose. Just
I'm going to cut that and edit it so it looks like I got that right.
Yeah, just edit it together. Okay.
Maybe I just keep saying Casablanca.
Yeah, that's the only two from Casablanca. That's the only one from Casablanca. The other one was Gone with the Wind.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. This is a big one. This is an old film, but it's been referenced in another film. You might know it.
Okay.
I'll give you a clue if you need it. Okay.
Okay.
You don't understand. and I'm going to read this how it's scripted. I could have had class. I could have been a contender. I could have been somebody instead of a bum, which is what I am. Do you know?
I've got no idea.
Marlon Brando.
Godfather?
No. 1954 on the waterfront. It's a classic. You should watch it.
Not. Come on, mate. Like, seriously.
Just that. Come on, mate. No, you should watch that film, though. If you get a chance, watch it.
Yeah, I might watch Godfather first.
Well, yeah, okay. Okay. I'm going to make you an offer you can't refuse. Please get this. If you don't get this, I'm going to make you an offer you can't refuse.
I don't think I've heard it, but I
It's
don't.
The Godfather.
See, I've not seen The Godfather.
You just mentioned it there. That's why I thought I'd say it. Okay, hang on. Right, let me find a. Okay, you're gonna get one.
Find one of a film that was made after I was born.
Oh God.
Maybe.
God. You gotta get this one.
Oh my God.
You talking to me?
Oh, Taxi Driver.
Yes, you got it.
Because that's what they use. Because if you do intonations at the different, you talking to me, you talking to me.
Yes.
It's a good actor thing.
Yes.
So that's why he did it. Okay, well, I got one.
One.
Woo!
I'll give you.
I'm a fucking film genius.
Let's have a look. As long as that film is Taxi Driver.
Yes.
Okay. I don't even know why this is put on as a quote. You ready? If you don't get
I didn't
this,
get the Godfather one.
Are you ready?
I feel awful about it.
E.T. Phone Home.
You're not actually genuinely asking me.
That's the quote.
E.T.
I need the full title.
What is in
E.T.
extraterrestrial?
Well, no, okay, thank you. Right,
Okay,
that
right,
was
yeah.
the quote. Though. What ridiculous quote! Like E.T. Phone Home.
I know, and then you got to use.
It's like saying The Godfather is going to make you an offer you can't refuse. Okay. The Godfather. Right, here we go. Right. I'll make this the last one, right?
Yeah, please do, because it's like a slow death.
It is painful, isn't it? Hang on, this is great radio. Let me just find one. Toto, I've got a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore.
Oh, that's got to be. I haven't seen it, but it's got to be The Wizard of Oz.
Yes, well done. I'm proud that you got that.
Thank you.
Very, very proud you got that.
Okay, right. I got one for you. Okay. This is our new segment called 1-star reviews. Do. So I find 1-star reviews on IMDb of films that sit within the top 250 films. Now, what I found in doing my research for this segment, is that most of these films, of course, the majority of the reviews are 7s, 8s, 9s, and 10s.
Yep.
For most of them, the most is like 10.
Right.
But there are more 1s than there are 2s, 3s, 4s. It's like people are making a point.
Yeah. I think to go on to the internet in the first place and to write a review on IMDb, you either have to have absolutely loved the film or genuinely hated it, in my opinion.
Right. So I'm going to read you, and I'm obviously going to have to leave out certain bits. So forgive me if I pause or stutter.
Just say blank.
Okay. So these are all in the top 250.
Okay.
I finally got a chance to see this movie. I tried to watch it with an open mind without letting the hype dilute an even slight bit of impartiality. And I can't say it's a very good movie. Perchance if soap opera was its own category, then this may stand true to its title as being in the top 250 on IMDb.
I don't know. Give me a hint. A clue.
Okay, you can narrow it down. It's definitely within the top 50.
Oh, wow. Read the first 2 sentences.
Finally got a chance to see this movie. I tried to watch it with an open mind without letting the hype dilute an even slight bit of impartiality, and I just can't say it's a very good movie. Perchance if soap opera was its own category, this may stand true to its title as number, and I can't give you the number on IMDb. Okay, I'll give you some more.
Okay, cool. I was about to have a guess then.
So you were going to be wrong. So what was wrong with this movie? Non-existent or loose plot, no suspense, climax, excitement, or outcome. I thought the acting / characters were forgettable.
Harsh. I don't know.
Okay, I'll give you a little bit more, but I'll leave out the name. Any other actor could have pulled off what blank did. Can't say anymore.
I don't know.
The Godfather.
Oh my god! I was going to say it. It's one of those moments where you say I was going to say it, and then everyone's like, "Yeah, of course you were."
I mean, my best clue could have been I just said it.
Yeah, that's true.
But they talk about the fact that any other actor could have pulled off what Brando did, and the fact they went through all that trouble to make him 10 or 20 years older just proves that they shot for the name recognition.
So I don't agree with that because Brando was notoriously difficult to work with.
There
Notoriously difficult.
They're saying that this name would stand out so that people would think The Godfather was good because Brando was in it.
Not so sure about that.
Okay. Let me. Okay.
A spoiler dies.
Don't give it away. I haven't seen it. Okay. I mean, there was a 2 and 3, so I can assume that the story moved on.
That.
Okay. This is number 2. I went to see this with a friend because I'd heard it was. They've put this in inverted commas. It was good at the local IMAX theater, no less. I went in with absolutely no knowledge on it whatsoever. Once I actually saw it, I realized it was one of the worst movies I've ever seen, and I've seen some real stinkers. I'd rather have my eyelids held open by toothpicks while tied to a chair in front of a screen showing back-to-back a back-to-back Ed Wood marathon.
Jesus. Ed
Okay.
Wood? What? What's wrong with Ed Wood? Well, they don't like Ed Wood either.
No.
Nope. Johnny Depp. It's one of my favourite films. I don't like this person already.
Do you want to give you a bit? So they're then going to say, I can't think of a single thing I enjoyed about film name.
Yeah.
What there is a plot. What there is of a plot is all over the place. The lines are beyond cringeworthy. It's way too preachy. And the plot twist at the end manages to veer way past the range of strange into the range of batshit crazy.
Sixth Sense?
No.
Okay, give me a decade. What decade was it made? That
2000s.
Okay, it's quite recent.
Hang on, let me check though.
Avatar?
No. I think it was 2000s. Bear with. I just want to make sure it wasn't. No, 1999.
Okay. Fight Club?
Yes.
Is it?
Fight Club, yeah.
10. Okay, I'm glad I got that one.
Yeah.
After 2 attempts.
And yeah, me giving you the year.
Yeah. But just give me the decade. Don't so say 90s.
Yeah, because I thought 2000, but then it just dropped back in.
Go on, hit me with
Okay.
more. How many more?
That was only 2. We got 4 more.
Okay, wow.
Okay. This must have been the worst movie I've seen in a long time. As I sat in the movie theater watching people around me start to sob, I really wondered if everybody had gone insane.
Okay.
That's all I'm going to give you. I'm going to give you the sob bit.
Say it again.
This must have been the worst movie I've seen in a long time. As I sat in a movie theater watching the people around me start to sob, I really wondered if everybody had gone insane.
Is there more?
There is more, but it goes into the actual sort of bits of the film, so I can't give you that because otherwise you'll get it.
Like, what decade was it, man?
Oh God, you're asking me now.
Making it difficult for you.
It was in the 90s.
Okay.
Some strong films made in the 90s, man.
So everyone's sobbing. That person, like, what the hell's wrong with you all?
Why are you sobbing?
What are you sobbing for, you idiots? I don't know that one. I really don't know.
No?
Go on.
Green Mile.
Oh, yeah.
They go on to say, I don't like how this movie dealt with the topic of capital punishment. I hardly doubt the atmosphere and the death track depicted in the Green Mile is anything like that in real life. It's a film.
It's a film, yeah.
About a guy that can
Probably happily watch a Marvel film.
take evil out of people by grabbing them by the balls. And I mean, there's a leap of imagination involved here.
Yeah, you have to just be open to it, really, I think.
Christ almighty. Right, okay. Okay, this I need to check before now, this one about when it was, because you're going to ask me.
I will.
Okay, 90s again.
God, you're the 90s. Strong decade for fun.
I mean, incredibly. This movie is a good example of the pitfalls of relying on user reviews and ratings by selecting movies to watch. By no stretch of the imagination should this movie be in the top 250 list or anywhere even close to it. The acting and direction were poor, the story very lackluster, unimaginative, and predictable, and many of the scenes were downright ludicrous. Some of the scenes will require you to suspend disbelief.
Matrix?
I'll give you one more guess.
Go on.
Okay, they name the main character and they say they appear, and I can't use the word, in many scenes, but an attempt is made to depict them as an intelligent person.
I don't know.
Leon. The Profession.
I love that film.
Amazing. I've seen that
film.
Um,
No women, no kids.
There's a lot of 1 stars around that talking about obviously the child.
Yeah, that relationship could be quite troublesome these days between the two, because she seems to be quite into the idea of sexualizing that relationship, or at least romanticizing that relationship with him, where he doesn't show interest in that, but they're French. That's a joke. That's a joke.
We don't get many listeners in France anymore.
No, it's a joke, but it's based in reality.
Okay, right, 2 more.
Yeah, go.
Okay, I need to remember which one this is. Okay, I remember what this is. How this film gained such high praise and notoriety completely escapes me. I have seen hundreds of films, and this is easily the most incoherent, bland, and lifeless piece of work I can recall seeing.
Natural Born Killers.
No.
Damn it. Thought I was going to leap in there.
I'm going to see if I can. Okay. Long, drawn out, boring, lifeless film packed full of irrelevant imagery and symbolism that amounts to a filmmaker who doesn't know how to tell an intelligent story with solid characters and emotions.
Jesus.
That is the same exact problem here.
What year was that? What decade?
It was.
If you say 90s again, I'm just going to give up.
80s.
Okay. Just give me the first 3 lines again.
How this film gained such high praise and notoriety completely escapes me. Easily the most incoherent, bland, and lifeless piece of work I can recall seeing. They've put something in brackets there, but if I tell you that, then you'll get it.
Okay. Okay, 80s.
And then they talk about another film that they hate, which I know that you love.
Okay.
In fact, I'm going to give you a clue.
Go on.
High inquiries wise, you've used clips of the film they say they also hate a lot in your TikToks.
I use lots of films.
You do. This one, especially.
I don't know.
The Shining. And they say I also hated 2001 Space Odyssey.
See I don't think this should be allowed all the time, but I think that person should be cut off from the internet. Just no, come on. That's a ridiculous thing to say.
Okay, one more, right?
Okay, one more. Yeah, go on.
I first saw this film when I was 15. I thought it was brilliant, really original, and generally great. However, now, 3 years later, so they've had an epiphany at 18, I realised it is nothing more than a pretentious piece of garbage.
Wow.
Sure, it looks good, but when you really get down to it, it's not doing anything. It doesn't have any real substance. It's not commenting on anything. It's just a totally throwaway product. The director's name is talking loudly and saying nothing, and that narrative structure, it looks and feels original, but independent and foreign movies have been doing it better for years and years. A truly trash piece of postmodernism at its worst. That is damning.
Passion of the Christ? Apocalypto?
No.
Okay, right.
90s again.
No, yeah, okay. Fucking 90s.
I'm a 90s kid, what can I say?
Just give me the direct.
Tarantino.
Okay. Pulp Fiction. Oh wow.
Reservoir Dogs.
Reservoir Dogs.
Savage.
That is savage.
I mean, these films are great.
Yes.
And they are.
I mean,
It feels personal.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I think if you just, you don't disagree with, if you disagree with the film, you don't like the film, that's fair enough. It doesn't speak to you on any sort of level. You just say that. It's just you go to some crazy personal attack.
Yeah,
I think it's a bit harsh.
it's very
I
harsh.
feel I lost that today.
Yeah,
That's awful.
I mean, at least I got.
You got one quote.
How did I not get The Godfather? I think I panicked a little bit. You sprung that on me.
It's because you were just mentioning The Godfather. I threw you off.
Yeah, but
And
the
then the
whole
Casablanca thing.
game, because last week when we recorded, we will be coming up. We do another segment called Director or Dictator. Now I find that easier because it's a choice of two.
Yeah, what a fun game.
But the quotes thing, yeah. But keep testing on them. It's going to make me learn more.
Yeah. I mean, I just went on the AFI's, the American Film Institute's 100 greatest quotes from films, so we've got plenty. So don't worry. So thank you to the AFI, by the way.
Yeah. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching. You usually say thank you for listening, but thank you for watching listening.
Yeah.
Because some people will be listening to this because it's still going to be on the usual.
This is true. Yeah.
Where we upload onto all podcast sites, but also now on YouTube. So thank you.
You can use your eyeballs.
You can
to do it as well.
You can listen and watch.
You can watch me.
But yeah, thank you. Please like and subscribe. We get to say that now.
Remember to like and subscribe. Never did I think I'd get to a point where I'm saying that.
I don't know what that does. I feel like it pushes the algorithm in some way.
Yeah, I mean, it pushes the video up the algorithm, and yeah, I mean, it'll eventually, hopefully, buy me a bigger house. So
maybe
that's really the main aim of this. It's not to entertain people.
So yeah, like, subscribe. If anyone would like to sponsor the podcast, please do let us know.
That'd be lovely.
That would be fantastic.
Preferably something I consume a lot of. So either coffee,
CBD drinks you like.
CBD drinks, we both like those. Narcotics, that's a joke. Don't write in about that's fine. I only take pharmaceutical drugs. No. And Red Bull. Give me some Red Bull, that'd be nice.
Yeah, that keeps us going.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, subscribe, and tell all your mates.
Tell all your friends.
Yeah. And then tune in for the next one.
Yeah. And we'll see you there.
Thank you.